2026 AWS NBA Draft Combine. There's a breeze blowing in the Windy City. On that road to Brooklyn, Chicago is home to these rising stars. The Navy Pier hosted the NBA Draft Lottery on Sunday. That was when the Washington Wizards found out the great fortune that they will have the #1 pick in a historic draft class. We're set for day 2 of scrimmages here at Wintrust Arena. Who could be those sleepers? We'll talk about all that and more over the next 4 hours here on NBA TV. It is great to have you with us, everybody, courtside in Chicago. I'm John Fanta. She's the queen of grassroots basketball, has been covering these guys since they were growing up playing hoops. Kristen Peak, and he's the director of scouting at 24/7 Sports. Also with CBS Sports, he is Adam Finkelstein. All right, guys, what a draft class this will be. There's so much buzz around it. What makes it special?
This is my favorite, collectively, this is my favorite draft class in the last 12 years that I've been doing this. There's so much talent, and there is a very, very good chance that the first top 10 players off the board will be one-and-done freshmen.
You know why that is? Because we knew there was a big 3 coming into this college basketball season. Everybody was talking about AJ Dybantsa, Darryn Peterson, and Cameron Boozer. What we didn't know was that there was so much more star power even beyond that, and KP, those are those freshmen that you were just alluding to.
As you take a look at the draft order, the Utah Jazz at #2 behind the Washington Wizards, the Memphis Grizzlies. We'll talk about that 3rd pick. A lot of people envy that position that they're in. And then how about the Chicago Bulls? Their buzz because they are picking 4th. As we dive into Kristen Peak's top 10 in your latest mock, what stands out the most?
The thing that I differ from everybody else is I have Darius Acuff Jr., the first guard off the board, and that's just because of what he did in the SEC, and you know, he's SEC Player of the Year. He had a 49-point game, and he was just incredible all year long. A lot of people have Keaton Wagler in that 5 spot, but it goes those top 4, and then I think it's a lead guard lottery, and you sprinkle in a little Nate Amen with what he's done here. He tested very well at the combine.
Same thing in the top 4. I wonder if Acuff is the pick at 5. He's the 5th player on my big board. I just wonder if he fits in LA. We'll have to wait and see on that one.
Well, that leads us to a man who could very well hear his name called #1 overall, the phenom, the pride of Brockton, Massachusetts, the BYU superstar. He is AJ Dybantsa. It's great to have you with us. Thanks for taking a few moments of your time. How would you describe this week?
It's been exciting. You know, starting off with the drills, the lane line, the vertical jump. I thought I was doing good. I had a 42-inch vert until Toby came out of nowhere. I had a 45, but it's been fun just doing the interview process, speaking with different teams. This has been lit.
Now, on Sunday, as you know, social media never stops.
Yeah.
You were on camera reacting to the lottery when the Wizards claimed the #1 pick, and that led all kinds of people to say all kinds of different things. That's nothing that you're not used to. What was your reaction when you saw the Wizards get the #1 pick?
I mean, I am used to it. I mean, I've been all over social media since I was about 13. But, you know, you're trained not to react. A lot of the top players, like Cooper Flag last year, and you can go down the line, just have no reaction at all. You don't want to seem too happy. You don't want to seem too down. So I just kept a straight face, kept the poker face. But, you know, people just going to, you know, make their own assumptions. So
his poker face was a lot better than Cooper's. Let's just be honest.
AJ, I mean, everybody talks about the depth in this class, especially the freshman class. You know these guys so well. What makes this class collectively so special?
We're just super versatile as a group, and we're super exciting to watch. Like, I think a lot of us just can make a lot of highlight plays, but also playing the game the right way.
You know what else is fun about this class? AJ, you have been playing with and against so many of these guys for literally years. What's that like to be here with the same players you went up against in like E15?
Since I was about 14, being on the same team with DP and Cam, U16, and then just rising and ascending with them, it just shows like our testament to our hard work and that we stay consistent.
When we look at the college basketball climate, 10 years ago, a person in your shoes is likely going to Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, one of the same old names. You were asked about it when you went to BYU, which is something we all appreciate because you pave your own way. And we all know the money situation in college sports, and great for you that you were able to make what you made at BYU. But in what ways did Kevin Young and staff make you a better player at BYU?
Yeah, just KY coming from the NBA. I think that he brought me a lot of knowledge. So watching a lot of film of KD and D-Book and you know, giving even knowledge to Rob about CP3 and when he coached him. You know, Joel Embiid film, like it goes on and on and on. And he kind of put us in like an NBA offense, NBA defense, scoring early in the shot clock, scoring super fast, allowing me to shoot my middies and not really, you know, limiting my game, and I can just play my pro style game.
AJ, I remember the first time I saw you play, St. Sebastian School in Massachusetts, playing for Dave Hinman. Shout out Dave Hinman, right? You were in 8th grade, and I remember, I think you had 20 points in that game against IMG. I didn't even want to tweet your name, and I just said, I saw this 8th grader just drop 20 points. To me, the hardest thing to do is to be celebrated at an early age and maintain your spot year after year after year. Tell me about what that process has been like, to be that good that early, know everybody's been chasing you for years, and yet stay at the top of the class.
I mean, I think that helped me. I always had a target on my back, so I always had to prove myself and just prove that I belong. And with people trying to, you know, come ahead of me, I always had to just stay on my toes, stay working, stay in the lab, stay in the weight room, stay in the film room so I can keep getting better.
AJ, we just saw your 8th grade highlights. You and I talked about this. I said, when did you really start to love the game? And you said during COVID, your dad, Ace, would drive you an hour and 20 minutes to Rhode Island for workouts every day. And you said, I just learned to love the workouts. What was it about those workouts in that time during COVID that kind of separated? And then you said you came back and you said, oh, yeah, then it was over and I was better than everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, it helped that I grew 5 inches in 3 months.
That
so
does help.
I was a lot taller than everybody, but it was just the work. I can kind of feel myself getting better, even though I was getting beat up by a lot of older kids. I can feel myself getting better. And I remember there was one day where we played 3-on-3 and I didn't lose one day. I mean, I didn't lose that day. I mean, I kind of started feeling the love for the game.
Who's a player, perhaps at the next level, or one of your teammates through the years that's helped you, that's been a sounding board, if you will, for you on your journey?
I mean, I speak with a lot of NBA players, just having that relationship. So I know Kevin Durant pretty well. I know Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Paulo, Jamal Crawford. List goes on and on and on. And I can just ask them for advice. Paulo, JT, Jason Tatum, they kind of give me advice on how there was just top-rated high school players and going through the whole process, being a one and done and then going into the NBA and having to lead a team. So I'm trying to follow their footsteps.
All right, and before, you know, we let you go, we got to look at these photos of you. And you first fell in love with the game of basketball because of your love for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And your dad bought you a little mini hoop. Here you are in your Spider-Man outfit. Where were you guys going that day?
I don't even know where we're at, to be honest. I was too young to remember. I don't even know where we're at.
That's a Red Sox hat. I know that. Yeah.
That is great stuff. Everybody always is asking you questions this week. This is so cool with JT and Jason.
Now you're probably taller than him.
He said it yesterday. He's not a Celtics fan anymore. He put that on the record. You're done.
I think the city of Boston will always have love for me. I'm a Red Sox fan. I don't play baseball. I'm a Bruins fan. I don't play hockey. But the Celtics, when I go against them, I can't really be fans of them no more.
That's fair.
No, that's the killer mentality of AJ Dybantsa. The last thing that we've got for you is everybody's asking you questions this week, ourselves included. What questions have you had for the organizations you've visited with?
Yes, I asked how would they see me fitting in their program? What immediate impact will I make on their team? What do you think my weaknesses and strengths are? What type of sports performance do you just have around your city? How is the city? How's the fan base? I mean, I'm asking a lot of questions.
AJ Dybantsa, you've provided a lot of answers on the hardwood and beyond. We appreciate you, young man.
Thank
Good
you.
luck in this process. Savor it.
Thank you.
AJ Dybantsa could very well be the #1 pick in this year's NBA draft. There's so many storylines here. And how about the hidden gems in this draft class? Those rising stars who are on their way. We've got 4 teams. We've got 2 scrimmages next from the Draft Combine. Do a tremendous job as we get ready for our first scrimmage. Team Carpenter and Team Rivers, and we take a look at our starters. Jaden Bradley out of Arizona went to the Final Four, and there's some other guard talent. Look out for Emmanuel Sharp and Ohio State's all-time leading scorer in Bruce Thornton. Ruben Chinyelu downstairs with Malik Brown. That is some heavyweight talent for Team Rivers. Their starting lineup. Folks, Jeremy Fierce Jr. had a phenomenal career for Tom Izzo at Michigan State. Jacoby Gillespie, one of yesterday's winners. Keep an eye on Trayvon Brazil, Dylan Mitchell with Ugana Onyenso in the paint as we get to our Star Watch. Krista Peak, who do you have your eyes on?
Is that guy right there, Emmanuel Sharp, senior guard out of Houston, and he's the quintessential Kelvin Sampson Houston guard, same as Marcus Sasser. Tough as nails. He had 17 points yesterday 4 for 9 from the field, 2 steals, so he's got that two-way ability. He's someone I'm really watching today.
Tell you what, I've got my eyes on Ruben Chinyelu. This guy, I think, is a potential first-round pick and playing on the second day of the games here. An absolute defensive monster, one of the best defensive players in college basketball, and his measurements are off the charts.
Well, Ruben Chinyelu is the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year this past season. We take a look at the rules. 4 10-minute periods after a 5-minute halftime. These teams will be back in action for the second half. They're in the penalty on the 4th team foul, or the second foul in the last 2 minutes of each period. No instant replay. You get 2 timeouts the first half, 3 in the second. There is no carryover. We're ready to go. This is Team Rivers and Team Carpenter. Team Carpenter led by one Johnny Carpenter. And it'll be Chinyelu for the tip, going up against Onyenso. Tip belongs to Onyenso Fears. It'll actually be out of bounds, and it'll belong to the team in blue. And the team wearing blue will be Team Carpenter, folks. Team wearing white, Team Rivers.
Team Carpenter, they beat Team Adams yesterday, 95-84. There's a ton of athleticism on this team. They love to get it go.
Team Rivers led by Spencer Rivers, the son of Doc. Comes from great genes, obviously, and there's several NBA assistants and different advisors coaching these teams this week. They've been working all week here, and that's something that we're watching, Adam, because these guys, they've been hard at work the last 4 days here in the Windy City.
They really have. There's been, after the lottery on Sunday night, 2 days of combine testing. This is the second day of games, and on top of that, you've got interviews, you've got medicals, so this has been a very busy week in Chicago, not just for players and their representation, but for the NBA decision makers, scouts, and executives as well.
Illegal screen by Ruben Chinyelu. So you talked about the stars that you are watching. You've been to many combines. At this stage in the week when we're on Thursday, what are these guys looking to do, and what are people looking for at this point? Because they've seen a lot.
I love the scrimmages of the draft combine because every year there's always someone that helps their draft stock. In 2022 is Jalen Williams, who became nice lob. Dylan Mitchell throwing it down. That's what he does best. But 2022 it was Jalen Williams, of course, helped himself all the way to the lottery. Cedric Coward last year. So I love seeing players that really come out and help their draft stock. And one of those guys isn't even on the court today because it was Mr. Cameron Carr out of Baylor who had 30 points and did enough to not play this year.
He was absolutely the star of the day on yesterday. Frankly, I was surprised he played because this is someone who was considered a first-round lock, and now he's looking at somebody who could be a mid-first-round pick. Massive length, massive athleticism, and then 6 threes yesterday, combining the shot-making on top of that physical upside. Terrific performance for the Baylor star.
So he had the first 9 points of the game yesterday. It was unbelievable. He came here with a mission.
Well, he did, and he's not the first Baylor Bear to do that. They've had a top 19 pick in each of the last 5 drafts. Shot clock at 3. Sharp, who was in your Star Watch. Sharp got Mitchell in the air, and he's short. A sharp start for Team Rivers.
But you see that defensive versatility that Dylan Mitchell's looking to show those NBA teams. John, you asked what are people trying to prove here? I think what they're really looking to do is show teams that they can fill a role. They have a niche in the league that is translatable, and it might be a little bit different than what their role was in college basketball, so this gives them a different context.
Well, keep an eye on Malik Brown. The do-it-all Swiss Army knife for Duke. Now Brown in transition, could not reel it in because of the defense from Brazil. We got an early dunk party in the Windy City.
Well, this is just what happens. Nice little alley-oop backdoor cut. Dylan Mitchell, he was a 5-star recruit, McDonald's All-American coming out of high school, played for St. John's. Nice little body control for Malik Brown to be able to finish.
Dylan Mitchell has the benefit of knowing what the combine is all about. He's been here before, and that familiarity, I think, really just gives him a leg up.
Stops at Texas, Cincinnati, and then St. John's, where he helped the Red Storm to their first Sweet 16 in a quarter century. Rick Pitino talked about his work ethic, his athleticism. He checked off every box for the Johnnies this past year. A team that at times went through offensive ruts, but you could always rely on Zuby Ejiofor, who's here this week, and Dylan Mitchell to get work done.
And you know the other thing, Dylan Mitchell since high school has been known as this elite athlete. I thought what he did this year in particular was define his game. We saw more ball handling from him. We saw he could initiate offense. We saw more passing from him. The defensive versatility we already mentioned. All those things I think are really appealing. There's been a lot of dialogue over the years about his shooting, but what he did this year at St. John's to say, look at all the other things I bring to the table aside from the athleticism that everyone knows me for.
You mentioned that he's been here before. He was here 3 years ago, and it was a little bit of a different situation because he had the option to go back, which he did, and he said, I don't have that situation now. So the feedback I'm getting from teams, yes, I need to work on my shot, but I'm going to have time to develop that once I get to the NBA.
Bradley was a little bit off. Mitchell
Nice catch,
flies right into the table here on one bounce nonetheless. You got to stay ready at the AWS NBA Draft Combine.
Great hands, Fanta. Can we get a stat for that?
That's the first time I've ever been told that, so I might record that. Gillespie, he shined yesterday. He's short. What'd you like about Jacoby Gillespie?
He had a great day yesterday. And you know what's interesting? We talked about different contexts, right? He's sharing a court with Fears now. Two pure point guards getting an opportunity to show that, hey, because of the shooting, I've got some gravity off ball too, showing the versatility. Again, giving a different context for these NBA scouts to say, you know what? I haven't had a chance to evaluate him in that type of setting before.
My favorite thing about Jacoby Gillespie is he was a football recruit, and he was a wide receiver. He had offers from Vanderbilt and Virginia Tech, and he told me yesterday, if he would have got a Tennessee offer to play football in high school, he probably would have played football.
Wow.
And then it was a full circle moment when he had the opportunity to transfer to Tennessee and play basketball there. So he said it was meant to be. I always loved the game of basketball first, but he was a very, very good, a 4-star wideout in high school.
Oh, we've got another look here. Just proof.
You want to highlight? You got to highlight. You talk a little smack after that, too? It looked like you said a little something there. You said a little something.
You got to bring your A game to the combine. Like, if you're soft, go home.
You're fighting for a spot.
That's it. Exactly. We're all fighting for a spot. Here's Jaden Bradley. 7 on the shot clock. Got his man in the air, and then that was altered by Onyenso Thornton, one of the great Buckeyes of all time out of Ohio State, was short and going the other way here. Team Rivers and Team Carpenter in our opener. This is Jeremy Fears out of Michigan State. A little bit on a control there. Well, you talked about Gillespie. He had 28 points on 10 of 17 from the floor, 5 of 8 from 3 yesterday. Brian Comwell was short. Tip-back doesn't go.
Also 5 assists and 2 steals for Jacoby Gillespie yesterday. He had a great game.
You know, I think he is. I think he's a pro. I think he's going to carve out a niche in this league. He may not have prototypical size, but he's so reliable. He's so skilled. If you can defend for Rick Barnes, you're going to be able to hold your own on that end of the floor at the next level. I think Gillespie certainly helped himself here in Chicago.
And if you don't defend for Rick Barnes,
you're out of there.
Yeah. You probably won't be out there very long. It's got a couple of check-ins here. Peter Suter just came onto the floor. He's a great story because he suited up for the Miami University Redhawks, had a tremendous journey, and a journey that captivated the country when they made the NCAA tournament as an at-large.
And I love that he's getting this opportunity here at the Combine. You love to see, you know, how mid-major players, all the scouts and executives that are here right now, they want to see how mid-major players like him really go up against the high major players.
It is the AWS Draft Combine. We're just getting started with the opening scrimmage. Darryn Peterson is a candidate to be the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft as we take a look at some of his measurables from the week. That 9.75 wingspan, as you take a look at the hand length, the hand width at 6'4.5". Peterson showing some good signs this week, and our Lauren Green, she caught up with.
Darryn, to be here in this moment right now, how are you feeling about getting ready for this draft?
Super excited. Just something I worked for my whole life, so to be here, just a blessing.
And Bill Self called you one of the top players that he's ever recruited.
Yeah.
What did that mean, kind of carrying that as a Jayhawk this season?
It was crazy because he told me all the players he recruited, and I was like, for you to say that, I mean, it means a lot, but it just showed his belief in me, so I just tried to answer the call with that all year. On
draft night, what would it mean to have your name called at #1?
It means a lot, just like I said about it, just like the hard work growing up and dedicated my life to this, and I think it'd be more big for my family than me. Like I'm wherever I go, I'm pleased. I'm just happy to get drafted.
And what else do you think you would be able to bring to an NBA team if they called your name on draft night?
I think they probably already know about the on-court stuff, but I would say like just a great teammate, somebody that's gonna work hard every day, and do small stuff like be on time every day, like that kind of stuff. Kind of harp on.
Well, that's great stuff there, and we'll have more from Lauren throughout our show. There's been a lot made about Darryn Peterson as Fears takes it inside, delivers it off for a slam by Kofi. Adam Finkelstein, there's been a lot made about DP.
Yeah.
What's your take on his status in this draft, number 1, number 2, and what you make of the last year?
So let's just start with the obvious, right? Whoever drafts him, whoever considers drafting him is going to do a deep dive on the medical, the background, all of that. That should go without saying. But what I will tell you as someone who has evaluated him over the years is the gains he made this year as a shot maker were extreme. We did not see this type of brilliance in terms of his shooting ability in high school, and he was still the guy that I thought was the best player in high school basketball a year ago. No, why was that? Because he was a big, long, physical, playmaking lead guard who could create for himself and others. So you take that guy we knew in high school, you combine it with the shot making we saw this year, and that's why I think if everything else is the same, if there's no issues with durability or anything else, I think it's possible he's got the highest upside in this draft.
People forget that before they faced off in that game late January where DP had 18 points in 20 minutes, he only played the first half and looked like the best prospect there. They played against each other in high school. They played against each other at McDonald's All-American. In one of the games, Prolific Prep versus Utah Prep, they combined for 107 points. DP had 58, AJ had 49, and so when you look at that film and that body of work of what DP, when he was healthy in high school, think you asked him, was there a point this past year that you were healthy? And he couldn't pinpoint a game.
He didn't have a great, yeah.
He couldn't pinpoint a specific game. He said it was early on in the season. But you look at that high school film, it's going to make it hard for the Washington Wizards to decide whether they're going to draft AJ Dybantsa or Darryn Peterson.
Which is crazy when you say that he wasn't at 100%.
No.
And he did what we saw in the sample size that we got in college basketball, which was average over 20 points per game, which makes you say, okay, if he wasn't at 100%, we're taking him at his word.
Yeah.
And he did that for Bill Self against some of the best teams in the country. Oh, by the way, there's a case he made that when he did face Dybantsa, a lot of people say he was the better
every
player.
Time.
Every
Let's
time.
be clear, every time.
Every time. And
So,
all the GMs that were there, they would have said the same thing.
Yeah.
I was there for the game, and I walked away after that first half, just the first half of basketball. I said, he's number 1.
do you think we'll wake up on the morning of the draft and it's still very much be up in the air from the outside of
I think it's very likely that AJ is the #1 pick. I think AJ's the safer pick. I think he's a better fit with Washington's roster, although I think you just have to take best available at that high in the draft. How about that block?
Wow.
So
Back-to-back blocks.
I think count that, but still, that was great athleticism.
I think AJ is very likely to be the #1 pick, but I do not think it should be a foregone conclusion. If I'm Washington, I'm bringing in DP. Frankly, I'm bringing in Boozer. I'm bringing in Wilson. I am doing my due diligence on all 4 of those guys.
I couldn't agree with you more. Heck, just for the heck of it, I'm bringing in Darius Acuff, Keaton Wagler, Kingston Fleming, just in the event that you were to trade the pick. I mean, I don't think that, but you don't know what could be offered on draft day.
And that's why I love the draft so much. You're trying to take a crystal ball and predict the future, and there's no guarantee. Okay, I'll say this. There are 2 guarantees, LeBron James and Victor Wembanyama. Those are guarantees. Everybody else, you are trying to look in the future and find out who they're going to be in the NBA.
But even if I could push back on that just a little, even Victor was so unprecedented physically. I remember being in this very building talking to executives, and the commentary was, if he can stay healthy, then that.
Right.
So there was some uncertainty there. So you never know, to your point, KP, and that's what makes the draft, as you said, just so entertaining.
Which gives us a chance to remind you that Game 6 of the Timberwolves and Spurs is tomorrow night on Prime, along with the Cavs and Pistons. That's Matt Abel hitting the corner 3. There are a lot of folks in Chapel Hill quite interested in his performance, as that'll go on the other. That's a nice and one by Jacoby Gillespie. But Matt Abel yesterday put on a show. He is scheduled to be playing for Michael Malone in his first season at the helm at North Carolina.
Yep.
But there's people who came out yesterday saying, well, maybe there's going to be more and more teams taking a look at him in the draft. What say you?
I talked to him yesterday. He said he talks to Mike Malone every single day, whether that's through text or phone calls. He's staying in touch. He's gained 8 pounds since the end of the season, so he's really trying to get his body right. This is a player, he had 15 points yesterday. He only averaged 8.8 points in 21 minutes at NC State. And meeting teams here, like you said, he might stay in the draft. He's already met with the Pistons, Magic, Pacers, Suns, and Lakers.
You know what? Abel was a top 30 high school prospect in the country coming out of high school last year, went to NC State, and had a lot of buzz coming off the summer circuit. I love that guy, by the way. I think he's a draft pick.
That guy is Ryan Conwell out of Louisville. He can light it up in a hurry. Why do you like him as a draft pick?
Well, you just said it. He can shoot it, and in the NBA, if you can space the floor and you can create gravity for your best players to be able to go to work, and you can simultaneously defend your position, you've got a real chance. Now, he's not going to win a foot speed contest, but he's got length, he's got upper body strength, he's got a competitive nature. I think he's someone who could stick in the league.
We saw him hit that three. He had 112 three-pointers this year, and he led the ACC in three-pointers. And it really opened up, especially when Michael Brown Jr. had his back injury, was done the back half of the set, and won for Jaden Bradley, the Big 12 Player of the Year. But Ryan Conwell, I mean, he really stepped it up. He said his favorite player is Steph Curry. And when you look at his shooting from the combine, he was 28 for 30 off the dribble and 19 for 25 in the star shooting, which is, I think, the toughest shooting drill here in the combine.
You know what else that Michael Brown injury did, though? It allowed him to get some on-ball reps. And I think at his size, he measured in at 6'2" without shoes on, if I'm not mistaken. It's important to be able to have on and off ball versatility because you're a little undersized for that two guard. So when Brown went out, he said, hey, look, you can put the ball in my hands and I'm just fine.
You brought up Jaden Bradley. Second round buzz around him and what he can be. Tyler Nickel buries that from the corner. And a couple of Vanderbilt Commodores in the house after their tremendous season. Suter, a little stop and go. Then Nickel with the defensive activity.
Yeah, Dylan Mitchell on ball. Great stunt from Nickel in the corner.
That's a tough drive. That's just a really good defensive closeout by Jacob Colty out of USC. Suter could not keep it in bounds. In our second game, we'll have Team Adams and Team Weems. And in terms of some people to watch in that, guys like Terrace Reed out of UConn. Baba Miller, who put on a show yesterday. It's been a long and winding journey for Baba. You could see prospect reports on him 2-3 years ago of what people thought of the upside. We'll also see Nick Boyd, Keyshawn Hall, Tyler Tanner. But that's what's cool about this week is Baba Miller, we've been talking about him for several years of what could be.
Yeah, exactly.
He had 20 points yesterday, finished off at Cincinnati. Step back three for Gillespie off. But Baba Miller, he could really help himself this week.
Final second to the first quarter here. 3 on the clock. Good defensive activity again by Nickel. He's going to earn the stop. And we've got a 2-point Team Rivers lead after 1. There is Spencer, the son of Doc, happy with his defensive effort from his squad. Team Rivers, a rack attack. Kofi, bringing some caffeine to Chicago. It's not just 4 or 5 guys at the top of this board. You can go back to last year and you look at like a Toronto Raptors who took Colin Murray-Boyles. I can think of when the Miami Heat said Jaime Jaquez. We had our T's, the guys who have been the hidden gems. That's what we're out to do this week, is find those guys who are stock risers, and it's a lot of fun.
It's so much fun, and when you look at this draft collectively, that's why we're calling it so deep, is because it's not just the 4 guys at the top. And here's the draft order for the lottery here and why so many teams were eyeing this specific group of players. But it's not just the 4 players. You've got the lead guards, but then you got some big men that are really sneaking into the lottery discussion. And we're seeing that today. One of them is a riser, one of Fink's favorite risers in Perez Johnson Jr., and he's had a fantastic week.
I'll just take all of the Michigan front court. I mean, I think all three of those guys are helping themselves. I think Adai Mara is going to be the first true center taken in this draft. I think Morris Johnson, KP, you just mentioned him. He didn't play 5-on-5 this week, but between the athletic testing and the skill testing, I think he's really helped himself. We might be calling his name in the late lottery. And then Yaxel Lundeborg is another player who I think has a chance to be a lottery pick as well. So from national champions to potentially the lottery of the NBA draft, those Michigan front court guys are doing well.
And none are freshmen. You made that point earlier.
Yeah, we did a little research on that. Credit the NBA TV group. It would be the first time that a college program produces 3 non-freshman lottery picks since, wait for it, Billy Donovan's Florida Gators team with, let me see, Al Horford, Corey Brewer, and
Joakim Noah?
Joakim Noah, yeah, it might have been.
Unbelievable. I mean, that is, as Malik Brown lays it in on the putback, that is remarkable, and it's only fitting that Florida team won the national championship back-to-back, and Dusty May's Wolverines winning the title. That is Jacob Kofi, who is showing both his length and shot-making ability.
Anytime you're listed at 6'10", he's a sophomore, right? He only had 10 points and 7 rebounds at USC, but anytime a big like that can show the potential in a pick and pop, especially in this atmosphere, you're going to get the attention of the executives here.
Well, the thing about that, too, is Jacob Kofi, what's most intriguing to NBA decision-makers about him is his mobility and defensive versatility. So if he proves to be somebody who can make spot-up threes as well, then all of a sudden, especially at his size, that's a translatable niche to today's NBA.
And he's been working longer than 4 days because Jacob Kofi was at the G League Combine.
Yep, he was one that got called up. There were 4 or 5 players that got called up from the G League Combine to now. And, you know, I was talking to Bryce Hopkins, who we'll see after this, and I said, are you tired? Because you've already been through all this. And he said, no, here we go. Here's the step in 3. Defense isn't coming. Came late.
Looked pretty good.
Pretty shot, yeah.
And we saw Hopkins get the call up. We saw Aaron Kumra out of Tennessee State get the late invite.
Started at D3 Nichols College.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
It's a New England thing. We call it the Duncan Robinson pass.
Pistons could have used Duncan Robinson last night. Here is Yakov. Delivery to Brown around the horn to Bruce Thornton, who finally tasted March Madness. It was so good to see the senior for Ohio State, their leader, get that taste of it. He fouls Conwell on the drive, and that's going to send Ryan Conwell back to the line. When you think about electric guards in the college game the past couple of years, but specifically in Pat Kelsey's system at Louisville this past year, Ryan Conwell just jumps off the screen with his quickness.
Well, yeah, and he's one of these players. He went to 4 schools in 4 years. He started at South Florida, then went to Indiana State, Xavier, and finally Louisville. And, you know, every step of the way, he found ways to get better. He told me it was a journey, and he said when he met with Minnesota, New Orleans, Portland, and Boston this week, they asked him about choosing or electing to transfer all 4 years, and he said when he finally got to Louisville and under Pat Kelsey's system, that's really when his game started to flourish.
Well, not only that, KP, but lots of times when you get a guy who goes to 4 schools in 4 years, what the decision makers want to know is if that is somehow reflective of a character concern. And you talk to the people who coached Ryan Conwell at previous stops. You talk to Sean Miller and his staff who had him at Xavier. They love this guy. They don't have a bad thing to say about him.
And that's telling when you had a great junior year at Xavier, as Gillespie couldn't hit, but the putbacks there. Dylan Mitchell does it all.
The athleticism, I mean, he's so fun to watch as he plays above the rim.
Effortlessly just hanging in the air there.
Thornton off a screen. Bruce Thornton rings the bell.
You mentioned he's the all-time leading scorer at Ohio State. He is a bucket getter.
He really is. And we've got a fun opening game here between Team Rivers and Team Carpenter.
Nice.
Team Rivers again wearing the white, Team Carpenter in the blue. Backdoor left open. Nickel took the cookies.
See, I think it's a play like that resonates. The ball's getting a little sticky, right? Everybody's kind of dribble. You find somebody who makes a good cut, slides down in the 45, and there's another good play on the other end. Good pocket pass on the pick and roll.
And you're always going to see on the second day of scrimmages, these players, their nerves are a little settled, and the basketball gets a little better.
Those are translatable plays. These guys going into an NBA situation, if they think they're going to take 5 dribbles, bring the ball up the floor and take 5 dribbles, that's not going to happen in NBA basketball. 45 cuts, pocket passes on pick and rolls, catch and finish, that stuff will translate.
How many times do we see different players in today's NBA provide some of the most impact without the basketball in their hands? Or they'll go from one game to the next and their role will change. Ryan Conwell is putting on a show in Chicago.
That's my guy. He shoots it. He shoots it.
Adam Finkelstein is the official president of his fan club.
Sign me up. Sign me up. We got stationary coming.
Thornton is fouled. You guys brought your A game to Wintrust Arena. We all got a really good night's sleep at the Slumber Suites down the street here in the Windy City. And great to be back at Wintrust, which does such a nice job at this. The location has changed over the years, but Wintrust has been the host of this event now for several years. The teams love it.
Oh, yeah.
The front office personnel, the players love it because, for those who don't know, this is perhaps the best hotel setup across the country. You could walk 10 steps from here to 2 properties. It's a great setup for these guys to get their rest, to get their workouts in, and to get their health checked.
Not only that, but everything is so centralized, and they do team meetings here as well. The teams come, they have a floor of rooms, and so there's no excuse to be late because everything is here.
I'm sorry about that. I got held up.
And 2,
very nicely done.
And 2, I mean, you're right. It there's no stress about traffic. There's nothing because everything is right here centralized.
And you know the other thing, too, people see the play on the court, right? That's all over social media. What you don't see is when you have all these players and all these agents, basically every agent in the game, every front office in the league, tons of college coaches, and you put them in the same place, in the same hotel for a week. Just the amount of intel gathering that goes on over the course of this week.
The lobby is
it's pretty extreme.
So we take a look at, that's the New York Knicks staff right there. They sit in the same spot every single year. Gene Cross, one of the scouts, he was here 90 minutes early to save their little corner.
I love that.
You just called Gene out. Said he had to get there early to save the seats.
I was here early. He was the only one in the gym, and he calls me. He's like, "Good luck, KP." I was like, "What are you doing here?" He said,
saving the seats,
"I'm
apparently.
saving the seats."
Yeah.
Gotta get your seats saved if you've got a superstition. And we know with the New York Knicks, they've got a nice week here to get ready for the Eastern Conference Finals. They also have pick 24 in the first round of the draft, so it'll be interesting. There's going to be plenty of guys to choose from there. There'll be real value.
Yeah. And look, they don't need that freshman one and done, rebuild person. They're pretty set, and there's a lot of value in the back half of the first that they'll be able to really, capitalize on.
Mitchell Robinson's a free agent, so I think the just kind of conventional wisdom is that they would love to find a big man there.
Here's Brian Wright, general manager for the San Antonio Spurs, sitting courtside, taking in the action.
Kobe Altman, the head of the Cleveland Cavs front office.
Kobe in the house, and certainly he's got a big game tomorrow night back home as the Cavaliers will take on the Pistons. You can find that on Prime. Brian Wright had the good fortune a couple years back. I remember the emotion of the Spurs. Everybody always talks about the Spurs championship, all business. Look, we know their standards, and there's a serious nature to those, but the night that they found out that the ping pong ball had dropped in the proper place and they were getting Victor Wembanyama, they let their guard down a little bit, and rightly so.
When I tell you, I've been to the draft lottery show several times, and that year specifically was so electric. Wemby was still playing, so he wasn't even here.
That's
so
right.
He was back in France, but when they won, there was no one with a bigger smile on their face than Brian Wright.
I remember we had those playoff games on the NBA app. Our buddy Kevin Dana was calling a variety of those. So those two have done
the playoff games from France.
Correct,
Wemby's
from
games.
France.
Yeah.
Those two have done a remarkable job at their respective places. I was just thinking about this. I mean, you think about Brian and the Spurs drafting Stephon Castle, being able to get Dylan Harper, a guy like Kelton Johnson that they brought in. They even have Carter Bryant, who's kind of an afterthought on their roster itself right now, but they're bullish about his future. Look at the Cavaliers. I don't know if they're still playing if they don't go and get James Harden at the trade deadline. I mean, they traded Darius Garland, but that's because the previous regime was not working well. Now they have a chance to make the Eastern Conference Finals. That's why you make a trade at the deadline.
Absolutely, and they drafted extremely well in the year that they went out and got their big and Evan Mobley and just kind of built everything around him.
All right, Fanta, it's trivia time. You ready for this?
Yeah.
What is the common denominator between Kobe Altman and Florida Gators head coach Todd Golden? It's an Ivy League school.
Yes.
It is Columbia University.
That's it.
They are
Lions.
both from the Kyle Smith coaching tree. Kyle Smith, now the head coach at Stanford.
That's right. And that Columbia coaching tree is big.
Kyle's coaching tree is very impressive.
Big. It really is impressive. As Fears comes down with it, Jeremy Fears Jr., one of the best for Tom Izzo, and that's a nice find to Trayvon Brazil out of Arkansas for an alley-oop, leading us to a timeout, and Team Rivers has opened up a 10-point lead. It's the AWS Draft Combine. High Flyers, the next wave of stars in the Windy City. We're just getting started in Chicago. Welcome back to the AWS NBA Draft Combine. John Fanta, Kristen Peak, Adam Finkelstein, and some really intriguing prospects on display here in Chicago. This is day 2 of scrimmages. Yesterday, we saw a guy like Cameron Carr say, oh, you've got me mocked around 19 or 20. Here's why maybe you should take me 11 or 12. Just think about it. We'll talk more about that, but a guy like him delivered. Jacoby Gillespie's back out here. He's fighting for his spot. Jaden Bradley's another guy who has shined. Jaden's gotten a lot of talk the last couple of days from evaluators saying they've really seen him evolve as a decision maker and with his patience and processing thing.
You know what's interesting is first of all, he's a Big 12 Player of the Year. And someone who, despite winning that award, didn't put up the individual numbers that you would expect someone to do that. And what I've seen from him in the last two days here is I think he's trying to show he's got a little more individual offense than people may think. He's been aggressive to me in these 2 games. And I think he's coming out and saying, hey, if people don't respect me as a scorer, I can make them pay. Remember, he made significant growth this year at Arizona with his shooting. That was viewed as a key swing skill for him, and he addressed that this year. And I think he appears to be intent to show some of his individual offense in this setting.
He had 10 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds yesterday's scrimmage. And remember the game-winning shot he had in the Big 12 tournament semifinals against Iowa State, that 3 in the corner? That's when I knew it was March. We had a buzzer beater. It was Jaden Bradley who made that shot.
There you go.
And man, that Arizona team, Koa Pete, who will have a decision to make. You know, certainly could make a lot of money going back to Arizona and can make his fair chunk in the NBA. He's really a perfect embodiment of the current age of basketball and the change with revenue sharing and NIL.
Yes.
And he came here this week. There were different reviews, different commentary, but it's a good problem to have. It also is a loaded problem that a lot of these guys have of what do I do? What route do I turn to?
There is a lot of pressure on these players this week, and you know, sometimes it gets the best of you. I still think Koa will end up staying in the draft. It's going to have a lot of conversations with his family, with his agent, with the Arizona staff. And then, you know, you got Braden Burries, who is getting top 10 pick buzz. And what they did, Jaden Bradley and Braden Burries in the backcourt. I remember Braden Burries' dad told me, nice pass. But Braden Burries' dad told me, he said, we wanted Braden to play with a ball-heavy guard like Jaden so he could get better day in and day out at practice.
And how about this, guys? Arizona, they really personify the current age of college basketball because they've got a guy who went back, didn't even test the draft process. I think Motias Krivas was a first-round pick if he came back, if he came out. But he said, no, I'm going to go back.
Yep.
So somebody who's in, Braden Burries, somebody who's back, Krivas, senior who's here, Jaden Bradley, and then someone who is still undecided in Koa Pete.
Well, and they have Caleb Holt coming in, 5-star Caleb Holt coming in, kind of to fill that Braden Burries.
Yeah, he'll step right into that role, yes.
And for those of you interested in the future superstars in basketball, you can Catch EYBL Future starts now. Tomorrow from Memphis on the NBA app. There are some games sometimes on NBA TV as well. KP and Adam Finkelstein, they'll be heading to Memphis for some barbecue and basketball right
That's right. It was pizza and basketball in Chicago. Now it's barbecue and basketball in Memphis.
I like it. Here's Fierce. He's got speed. Gillespie, a delivery to Onyenso. Onyenso, what do you make of the big man?
I think he made great strides this year at Virginia. Ryan Odom did something that no one thought was possible. He got him to make threes. And when you've got his dimensions, his shot blocking prowess, his archetype, and then you add someone who, on top of that, can make a standstill three, that's the epitome of a modern-day big man. When you can space the floor in different ways, you can be a lob threat, you can step out and make a shot, you can block shots, and maybe even slide your feet a little bit laterally. That is kind of the be-all, end-all of what teams would love to have in a center.
He has the third best standing reach. The best belonged to a Morrow.
He's tall, John.
Yes, yeah. He is. No shock there. Sixth in wingspan was Onyenso.
What did he measure at?
Get that here in a moment. Go through our...
I put you in
numbers.
You did.
Well, you're looking at it. He was second in the country in block shots. He averaged 2.9 per game. Played 2 years at Kentucky, 1 year at Kansas State, and then his senior year at Virginia. Originally from Nigeria, he played at the FIBA World Cup qualifiers in 2023 and also played for NBA Academy Africa before coming over to Putnam Science Academy in Connecticut.
6'10" 3/4 without shoes for Onyenso.
And a 7'5"
wingspan.
Yeah, that'll play. Also one of the best shuttle run times. As Sharp was in there with the defense, but then Mitchell says, you need a cleanup man, I'll fulfill every duty.
6 points now for Dylan Mitchell. He's perfect, 3 for 3 from field.
Suter was short. Congrats to Dylan Mitchell, by the way. He and his bride are expecting a baby girl.
They've already got a name out, Navy.
Yes,
did you just break
Navy.
news?
It's on Instagram.
It is.
Okay.
She's due the end of July. I asked if she'd be at Summer League, and he said absolutely not.
That good dad already.
Yes.
He's got this figured out.
Abel. Rebound for Brazil. Gillespie. They hit the last 30 seconds of this first half. Here comes Emmanuel Sharp. Over 100 wins as a Houston Cougar. Abel lines it up. Matt Abel is fully capable.
This is what we saw last summer. He was excellent at the Donovan Mitchell camp. He was really good at Damian Lillard's Formula Zero camp, and then we thought that was going to carry on into his year at NC State. And you know, him putting 8 pounds of muscle on before the end of the season, I mean, he came here to play.
Clock, did it go off? It looked like it did. They're going to count it for Fears. They don't have review, at least that's in our rules here. And now they're going to talk it over. It looked like the clock had expired before that. We'll see.
They may not have review, but we do.
That's still in his hands. And now they're waving it off. They didn't even need to take a look at it to recircle and say at basket.
Guys who decided to stay, you know, there's a lot of guys that were, you know, first round projected and they decided to return to college trying to win a national championship. So it definitely plays a part in a lot of things. But, you know, for me, I'm more focused on the situation and overall what will help me develop the best.
All right, leave us with this. What is your message right now to Chapel Hill?
You better hope I get there. I'm going to take it for you.
Hey, if I come back, you know, expect a lot of winning. I want to win. I'm a winner. And, you know, that's what I want to do. And my high school teammate, Kevin's there now, too, so it's even better.
There we go. Kevin Thomas off to UNC. Matt Abel is too. Matt, thank you for the time.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
There he is, Matt Abel, telling Chapel Hill, get ready for winning if I am a Tar Heel. And North Carolina fans love to hear that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the big if, right? Nothing is set in stone until that deadline is done. He's going to wait to get feedback from these teams that are here watching. I mean, you've got so many front office executives, decision makers here that are making these decisions, and especially in this draft. The second round is going to thin out, so they might be able to say to Matt, hey, we're going to give you guaranteed money.
Exactly right. There's a bunch of teams. We'll talk a lot about, like, hey, does it make sense to stay or go? First round money versus NIL money. There's a lot of teams with picks in the second round that when they meet with these guys are trying to convince them to stay in the draft because they want the best asset they can possibly get in the second round. And to your point, that's part of the early contract negotiations as well.
And that is where this draft will really get interesting because, look, we're watching these guys in different scrimmages right now. Ryan Conwell put on a show, Jacoby Gillespie show his ability, Emmanuel Sharp, where will he land on draft night? But I think that that's what's, I don't want to say being undersold, but we all know when people turn on the TV on draft day, everyone's going to be talking about Dybantsa, Peterson, Boozer, Wilson. Who's going to go 1 or 2? Who's going to go 3 or 4? How about the depth of this class? What do you make of it?
Well, I think that a lot of people are underrating the depth right now because of the amount of people that went back to college. Just to put in perspective, on our CBS Sports Big Board, we had a projected lottery pick go back.
Yeah, Braylon Mullins?
No, Thomas Hall.
Oh, Thomas Hall.
We had 3 more projected first-round picks go back, including Braylon Mullins, and a total of 18 guys who were ranked in the top 60, so meaning projected to be drafted.
18 of the top 60. That's almost a third.
Now, that is such volume that I think people are saying it's not as deep anymore. But recent history alone tells us that there are sleepers hiding in plain sight. Guys like Jalen Wells, guys like Cam Spencer. I don't mean to make this a Memphis Grizzlies infomercial, but like there is value to be found in that second round.
Yeah, there
AJ
really
Mitchell
is.
for sure, KP,
Yeah.
100%.
And there's even value to, you know, a guy that might get mocked in the second round but then gets picked in the first round on draft night. I remember when the Cavaliers took Jalen Tyson.
Yeah.
And people were like, whoa, okay, interesting select. Kobe Altman's 4
Yeah, I was going to say, shout out Kobe. Yeah.
That was, he nailed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because here's the thing, and this is what I try and tell people, is someone who does these mocks for a national media outlet, they have more information than we do. You know what I mean? I don't know what that medical says. I don't know what that psychological profile says. Yes, we've been watching them for 5 years in some cases. But the level of depth and nuance that they are able to get to with the NBA evaluation process gets so granular that, and yet still, there are surprises each and every year.
Noam Yakov with the find of Ruben Chinyelu for the alley-oop. Chinyelu's second catch and slam of the day. Backdoor was open for Mitchell. Out of bounds, going to be called on Abel. Noam Yakov is interesting, folks. 6'1" Israeli-Danish point guard. Was a standout performer in Europe for Filu Ostende, averaged 18 and 6 assists per game. He is planning, he's committed to the University of Utah. So something to keep an eye on as Mitchell climbs the ladder again. That's Dylan Mitchell.
Has he hit a shot? I think all his points have been dunks. He's got 8 points, and we've already seen 3 highlights.
You know what he's doing, too? The dunks are a byproduct of his cutting ability.
Yes, they are. You know who else did a little bit of everything for John Shire? Malik Brown.
Yes.
The last couple of years.
You know, you talk about Cameron Boozer leading in points, rebounds, and assists for that talented Blue Devils team, but it was Malik Brown who led steals.
We haven't talked about Cam Boozer today. I thought he had the best answer of yesterday's media availability. Someone said to him, Cam, with all of your versatile tools, what is it that you think is the most translatable asset you have? And he said, without hesitating, my mind. And I just wanted to start applauding. I was like, good answer, my man.
Cam Boozer has won everywhere he's been.
Yeah.
Look, we know that Duke's season ended short of what they wanted to be and short of what everyone thought it was going to be. Even Dan Hurley with his reaction when Braylon Mullins hit that bringer of rain 3 from another stratosphere off the turnover. But
Cam had like what was that, a facial fracture? I mean, I don't know what the technical term was, but it was very evident.
I wonder, Boozer had 27 in that game against UConn and had another 20-plus against St. John's. You do wonder if Duke makes to the Final Four and he puts on 2 more shows, if we're talking even differently about him right now. Whoa, another rack attack. Dylan Mitchell is showing everybody that there's a spot for him, folks, at the next level.
John, I have been saying, to your point, all year long that I think Cameron Boozer should be in the discussion to be the #1 pick. Having said that, I think he will probably end up in Memphis. And if I am the Grizzlies, I am rejoicing about getting Cameron Boozer at 3.
Now, you could argue there's, look, you want to be #1, but to have the 3rd pick, Jacoby Gillespie dicing it up from downtown all throughout this week, guys.
Yeah, he's been great. He's been great. And not, you know, not being on ball as much as he's used to.
Look at that play.
Adjusting really well.
Got to the hardwood, did what Rick Barnes wants him to do, and then a slam on the other end for Brazil. That all started with Gillespie getting to the deck.
You know what else I notice here? There's a lot of different guys on the floor right now who are used to playing with the ball in their hands. But the player that everyone seems to acknowledge is the point guard is Fears. That team gets the ball, and they immediately look for the Michigan State floor general, and they kind of, everyone acknowledges, hey, you're the point guard no matter where you are.
That was a stuff. Nasty block by Onyenso, the Virginia product. Spent time playing for John Calipari as well. Brazil. It'll go back to Team Carpenter. Well, you see it all throughout the NBA playoffs. There are certain guys who come in to games off the bench and just add an edge, a slice of toughness, as you will, a burst. Dennis Schroeder's doing it right now for Cleveland. When he comes in the game, it's like he makes some sort of an impact. San Antonio's got those types of role guys. The Thunder are loaded up with them. But we're watching Dillon Mitchell provide energy play after energy play.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just what, this is kind of reminiscent of what we saw of him as a five-star prospect in high school. And when he played at Mount Verde Academy, the storied program there, you know, the same team. They didn't play together, but the same team that Cooper Flagg, same program Cooper Flagg played on. But his confidence is way up in this combine than it was a couple years ago. So we're going back and forth in this third quarter. A lot of pace to this game to start off. But Dillon Mitchell has really helped himself this week.
And you know the other thing about Dillon? When you start talking about how you want to fill out your locker room, the other thing you just want good people in the locker room. And Dillon has been beloved everywhere he's been.
Absolutely. Abel. Again, Matt Abel.
And willing.
Well done by you.
11 points, 3 for 5 from three-point range.
Ooh, Tar Heel fans starting to sweat.
As if they haven't sweated enough.
Yeah. Oh.
There's another putback. I mean, Dillon Mitchell is having his own personal dunk contest, America, and you're all invited. Look at Abel here. I thought it was interesting. He said, I wasn't able to do everything I can do at NC State.
Yeah, I caught that. I decided to leave that one alone.
He was honest.
Oh. Got hit in the face, and then that left leg got stretched. He's bouncing up, though. Good to see.
Look, I can appreciate the confidence and the swagger. Here's the thing, though. He's gone out onto the floor and shown it. You know, some guys, they'll say something, and then it's like, all right, well, here's your opportunity this week. The pass is the pass, but this guy's been a machine.
And you know the other thing, John, like, Will Wade was looking for answers on that team all year long. So it's not like there was, you know, hey, this is Darian Williams' show and everybody's got to wait their turn. I think they were trying to figure it out and, you know, just didn't. I think he's another guy that didn't necessarily emerge the way that they hoped.
You mean you think that if Abel goes to or stays in North Carolina as a shot clock violation is sounded, that North Carolina NC State will have a little bit of extra juice next year?
That might be a rowdy crowd. Might be a rowdy crowd.
And we talk a lot about fit. I mean, Cameron Carr, who, you know, is one of the biggest risers of this week, he started off his years at Tennessee, and it wasn't until this year at Baylor and playing with Scott Drew, nice cut, right to the basket, getting down a hill for Fears. But it wasn't until he got to Baylor that he really started to figure out. So sometimes you just need that switch up and that fit to really assert yourself as a prospect. Here's Trevin Brazil, look out.
Brazil takes flight.
To be his size, to have his level of athleticism, to be the lob threat he is, and to be able to make an open shot, that's an intriguing prospect.
It sure is. And we've got a full buffet of intriguing prospects. It's a slam party. And you're invited. Mitchell, a high fly.
I mean, the list goes on and on, so.
Well, Cam, as the moment gets closer, how are you feeling about draft night approaching?
I'm excited, you know. It's not really up to me where I go, but wherever it is, it's going to be a great situation. We'll make the most out of it. I'm just going to enjoy every step of the process.
Well, that process has led to hardware. It's led to incredible moments. And while he and Duke just came short of a Final Four this past season. Cameron Boozer was absolutely fantastic. I loved what Nathan Grubel does a terrific job for No Ceilings. He said earlier this week, he said, look, he tested incredibly well at the power forward position relative to others at his position, had the most dominant individual college basketball season this century, and the most accomplished domestic player, if you look at in terms of titles at every level this century. You've talked about him being talked about as the #1 pick. Many boards don't have that. But what are we watching right now with Cam?
Well, let's go back a year ago. What we were having from a historic perspective is the most successful high school basketball in modern history. 4 Florida State championships, 3 USA basketball gold medals, 3 Nike EYB championships, and then he capped it with a national championship his senior season. I can summarize that by saying he won every single championship he played in. And then this year at Duke, he was the best player in college basketball. So at some point, all these conversations are about upside, right? He's been going against AJ Dybantsa and Darryn Peterson forever, and Boozer's team always wins.
Not only him, but also Cooper Flagg at 15U.
So at some point, I think someone just has to contemplate, ask the question like, hey, at what point are we going to stop worrying about the future and say, this is the guy who wins right now?
And you mentioned those 3 gold medals. He was the MVP at the FIBA World Cup.
Oh, he's the guy.
U17 in Istanbul. I was there. He was completely dominant, and that was playing alongside AJ Dybantsa and Tyron Stokes, Caleb Holt, and Jordan Smith Jr. So he is a winner. He is a connector. You talk about his comp being Kevin Love. Kevin Love has had a very long career in the NBA, and he just finds a way to win at every level. ACC Freshman of the Year, ACC Player of the Year, National Player of the Year. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And it's crazy to me, Fink and Fanta, like, in any other draft, he would be the bona fide #1 pick in the draft. So it's crazy to me that we are talking about him at #3.
I have a take, and I'm curious to
Is
get
it a
your
hot
thoughts.
take?
Well, no, I don't think it. You can judge. We'll see. I mean, it's. I don't think it's hot honey on Chicago pizza. Hot, but
Was that an option? Nobody told me.
I don't know. Maybe it could be.
Oh, I got to stay another day.
It was on the menu at the Slumber Suites. But I'll tell you what. I think a little bit of the discourse nationally, I don't want to say fatigue, but the amount that Cooper Flagg got, then for a second straight year of someone like that.
Yeah.
Maybe the general public's like, all right, we get it. Another #1 player from Duke. Do you subscribe at all to that of like, you came off Flagg, he was unbelievable, we all talked about him. I just felt like Boozer, we all knew how great he was.
Yeah.
The nation did, but I feel like it was undersold a little bit.
Well, he was also eclipsed of what the other freshmen in the class were doing
That's a great point.
AJ Dybantsa and what he did at BYU, Darryn Peterson, the conversations around him. And people forget that there was 1 week in January, no, 1 day, I'm sorry, 1 day in January, January 24th. AJ Dybantsa, freshman, 43 points against Utah. Keaton Wagler, freshman, 46 points at Purdue, which is very hard to do. Freshman. Kingston Flemings, 42 points at Texas Tech, all in the same day. And then 2 weeks later, it was Uboka Okori, 40 points against Georgia Tech. Michael Brown Jr., 45 points against Matt Abel and NC State. And Darius Acuff Jr., 49 points against Alabama. That is unheard of to do at the freshman level.
You know the thing, though, KP? Those guys, I think that illustrates how many players in this class can have huge nights.
Yes.
The difference between Cam Boozer, though, and everyone else is his bad nights are still really darn good. And that's why, in my opinion, that's a microcosm for his career. That's why I think he has the highest floor in this draft.
Oh, by the way, he shot close to 40% from 3.
Yeah,
And
don't ask him about his shooting, though. He gets very upset. Said the people who question his shooting, he said, well, they just haven't watched me play.
There you go.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, it is. It is fair. When you combine for 49 points, 18 rebounds, and 7 assists in the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 against teams that were as physical as St. John's and UConn, you have to play them back-to-back. Enough is enough, folks. And if he goes #2 on draft night, I won't be shocked. 5-second difference between shot and game. 7 on the shot clock. Conwell, the Louisville product, guarded by Sharp. Elite guard matchup, down to 2. Conwell, he is fouled by Bradley. And Ryan Conwell keeps his strong Thursday at the Combine going.
Was that ball fake? fooled Bradley just enough so that he had to lunge at the last minute and made that mental mistake to foul.
Here we go. Think about Ryan Conwell. Talked about the numerous stops over his 4 years, 4 and 4. But what's the value? We've seen him and Gillespie. The value for a team in the second round that's looking for a microwave scoring presence.
He's someone who's improved his stat line every single season. Of course, he met with Minnesota, he met with New Orleans, Portland, and Boston this week. He's now up to double digits. This will be 11 points for Conwell. Just his shooting ability and what he's going to bring to his secondary unit. There's a lot of value for him in that second round.
A lot of value over the years in the second round of the NBA draft. Of course, Nikola Jokic.
I was just going to say,
a Taco Bell commercial are well documented, but it goes beyond him. Final seconds here. That is Suter. He's off. But you also could play different sports, too. Look, you could hit the ice if you'd like to, Kristen Peak.
Absolutely.
Somebody did.
Here's Cameron Boozer and his older brother Carmani playing, what is that, hockey? He can do it all. He played hockey, he played baseball, he played soccer. Somebody asked to rate his skating. He said I was at 8 or 9 on the skates.
That is. Welcome back to the AWS NBA Draft Combine, and we come back with a bit of some news because Mark Spears, who does a fantastic job, senior NBA writer with ESPN, is reporting that the Jazz have already reached out to the Wizards to take their temperatures on a potential trade up on draft night. It's a report. It's not shocking, but it's out there.
I bet they did that draft lottery night. That was the very first phone call, I'm sure, that either Danny Ainge or Austin H made just to feel the temperature a little bit.
Look, it's certainly fun. It creates a lot of drama, and it's not surprising. There's real debate at number one, and we know the Utah Jazz, they would love to have their pick there.
I mean, I wrote on this yesterday of what I'd heard around here, and it got aggregated and kind of misrepresented in a bunch of different ways. But
that means you're doing your job.
Okay, thank you.
Promoted.
But I think what has been speculated here, and KP, you might be able to shoot this down, is given the Wizards Utah history, you know, the Ace Bailey, I think what people were saying, well, if AJ wants to be in Utah, will he work out in Washington? I think he's kind of addressed that. Nobody's asked him directly, but I think he's basically...
He's going to work out. Listen, this is not going to be an Ace Bailey situation where he's going to pigeonhole a team.
Or an Alex Sarr situation.
Alex Sarr situation, or even Jaden Ivey did the same thing. He didn't want to end up in Sacramento. AJ Dybantsa is not going to do that. He is anything. And what we've seen this week with his representation, he showed up to the media day in a suit, in a custom suit. I mean, he is taking this seriously.
Very well tailored.
Yes, he is not going to burn any bridges. He is going to go and meet and work out in Washington. He's going to go to Utah. If Utah says, if you are there at 2 and we're not going to pass on you, then he's not going to go to Memphis. He's going to politely decline. But this is not going to be one of those situations where he's going to try to manipulate the system and go where, you know, he may be preferred to want to be.
That's it. That's just it, though. And that's what I had said. And I basically said before the lottery, I think he was hoping to end up in Utah.
Right.
That's what I had.
That's okay.
Listen,
for
he
him
didn't
to
tell,
hope that.
He didn't tell me
played
that.
at BYU.
Yeah.
So it's not like...
And at Utah Prep the year before that.
Correct. Like, that's the other thing is sometimes we overreact. Well, we overreact often, meaning social media and everything. Shocker. Guy who plays at BYU and Utah Prep, as Matt Abel shows again his skill set, would be interested in staying in Utah. Wow, I'm really surprised at that.
But that's huge for the Jazz.
Yes, it is.
You know, the Jazz want a star who wants to be there.
And give Ryan Smith credit. What he's done to change the perception and the culture in Salt Lake City. He brought in a hockey team. They made the playoffs. They lost to the Las Vegas Knights in the first round. But he is redefining what people's perception is on what it means to live in Salt Lake City, to be a fan of either the Jazz or the Mammoth. And I think...
He did not extinguish these rumors, though. His comments the other day, he said, would he say something to the extent of Danny and Austin have a way of pulling off unpredictable, I'm paraphrasing, pulling off unpredictable things on draft night.
Well, yeah, you got to put a little smoke out there.
Why not?
It's smoke season. It's official. Now that we know the lottery, it's smoke season.
Somebody get me a T-shirt that says that.
How about that max vertical? 4th in all of the combine. Checked off the boxes earlier this week in the measurables. AJ Dybantsa, and mature beyond his years. There are some of the Jazz brass.
We got Bart and Steven. I know these guys well. I used to live outside Salt Lake City. But they were very, very happy with finally landing the 2nd pick. They've never had the number 1 in franchise history.
Yeah, let's be clear.
In this draft.
Rebuilding is over in Utah because now you've got Keontae George coming off that breakout year. You just traded for Darryn Jackson. You've got Lauri Markkanen in his prime. And then you've got Ace Bailey and whoever you take it to.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get Walker Kessler back too. This is going to be a very exciting season for the Utah Jazz coming up.
Keontae George was here. He was representative for the draft lottery. And then he stayed throughout the week. I ran into him at dinner and I said, what are you still doing here? He said, well, I want to watch the combine. I want to watch the games.
He was in here yesterday.
Yes, he was here watching. He's probably here today. And you know, he's someone, he just loves the game of basketball. I was at it wasn't random. I was at Houston, Arizona, in Houston, and Keontae was there with his girlfriend. I said, what are you doing here? He said, well, we have a game tomorrow. There's a lot of really good basketball players playing, and, you know, I just want to see a good game. I saw him so many times at BYU games. I saw him at BYU practices, and he's just someone, he's a gym rat. He loves the game of basketball.
Now, you're so right. Between Lauri Markkanen, Keontae George,
I think they just said we're trading him. Is that what they said? I just tried to
Darryn Jackson Jr., who you traded for, Bryce Sensabaugh, and the things that he can provide. There's a lot to like for the Utah. 88-66 to score. Team Rivers, Spencer Rivers, son of Doc, his team up on Kenny Carpenter's squad here at the NBA Draft Combine. John Fanta, Kristen Peak, Adam Finkelstein with you for the next couple hours here on NBA TV. Peter Suter out of Miami University, the Red Hawks, winning an NCAA tournament game for the first time in 27 years. Magical season. That one off. Putback is there. That was a good effort by Ruben Chinyelu, and Ruben Chinyelu will certainly have a decision to make. Florida is one of the top teams in college basketball. If Chinyelu comes back to the Gators with Thomas Houck and with Alex Condon, Boogie Flan, Florida could be preseason #1.
I think they may be preseason #1 for sure if he comes back, unless somebody goes back to Arizona too, and then there's a conversation to be had. Of course, I'm talking about Koa Pete.
That would be something if that is to happen. Top of the country will be loaded once again. Elliot Cadeau will headline Michigan. Fear's little hopscotch doesn't go. Back down, double team, and a foul. That'll send Ugonna Onyenso to the line.
Should have kicked that ball out. And I know that's a little thing, but when you get an offensive rebound and you've got a big-time three-point shooter at the top of the key, that ball's got to go out right away. And that's something that the NBA decision makers are going to notice. I had a scout summarize this to me the other day and say there are so many decisions that go into the course of a basketball game that we want 5 guys on the floor at all times who are expert decision makers.
You know, we talk about Cooper Flagg, Cameron Boozer, and Duke's pedigree. Well, the Blue Devils have the #1 recruiting class yet again coming in, and with that, they're going to have one Cameron Williams. They're going to have Deron Rippey Jr. And what he brings to the table is an electrifying guard out of Blair Academy. But in terms of the transfer portal, a guy that we've seen this week is John Blackwell.
Yes,
who's transferred
he's
from
here.
Wisconsin to Duke.
And we're going to see him next, I believe.
Yes, we will. That's called the promo. Team Adams and Team Weems coming up next. And Blackwell was very good yesterday. Has done some good things throughout the week.
So the question is, do Duke fans have to be nervous like Carolina fans are nervous right now about Matt Abel?
Well, they're always nervous, both fan bases. They want to beat the heck out of each other.
I'll say this, though. The thing about Duke is they got plenty of guards back there. So they want Blackwell, but there's enough guards there where they'll be just fine either way.
Pierce was looking for Mitchell. Good deflection, though. Thornton got his hands on it. And now a foul on the other end. John Blackwell all Big Ten selection. It's on the All-American radar. We had not seen, between him and Nick Boyd, Wisconsin was an electric factory offensively. They were so hard to stop. That Wisconsin team went to Michigan, beat them in Ann Arbor, the national champions, went to Illinois, beat them in Champaign. We hadn't seen a Wisconsin Badgers score like Blackwell and Boyd were doing this season since one Michael Finley in the mid-90s.
It was unbelievable what they did in Champaign. I was at that game when it went into overtime. Keaton Wagler was incredible, but they were without Kylan Boswell and Andrei Stojakovic, who had an ankle injury. But what that backcourt did, that Wisconsin backcourt, I mean, there were NBA scouts there. They looked at both of them and they said, I think they could play in the league. And then they did it again in the tournament.
They did it yesterday. Blackwell and Boyd were both great yesterday, right here at the Combine.
You know, we were talking about fans being nervous. Our timeout coordinator, Bella, she's the pride of North Carolina, Chapel Hill grad, and she's here today. Are you nervous, Bella? Are you nervous? Yep, that's a fast nod. That's a fast nod, Bella. We appreciate you. She's teetering.
Now I understand why my microphone got cut off when I was talking about it.
Bella, pride of UNC, also on our NBA team. Lindsay Sparrow. Lindsay, we love you. We're thinking of you. She's a passionate North Carolina Tar Heels fan. We always talk UNC basketball with her and with Bella and with our whole crew. That's what's so fun about our NBA crews is they're watching every single level of hoop. You two are off to EYBL tomorrow to watch some great hoop in Memphis.
You know, we have the first game on the NBA app is Jamal Crawford's son, JJ Crawford,
he
who
can
is
play.
Unbelievable.
KP's going to have to brief me in the plane. I'm like, all right, who we got tomorrow? Yeah.
JJ is terrific. Jamal is also outstanding.
And Jamal's coaching.
Yeah, Jamal is coaching. Derek Fisher's been doing some instructing.
Derek Fisher's here. You just saw him in your screen sitting in the corner there. He's on the baseline. Been running a lot of the Combine activities this week.
Two great guys, and I'm proud to call them NBA on NBC teammates as well. Doing a wonderful job on that side. Brazil is off.
Look out.
Look out below, Mitchell.
I was wondering if he'd try it.
He had bad intentions. We got somebody walking in right now, don't we? Who's strolling over to us?
It looks like a national champion.
Yaxel Lendeborg. That Michigan team, guys, was just so overwhelming to deal with as an opponent. Because how did you defend them with their size? And then the question you kept asking was, how the heck do we score on them consistently?
No doubt. And you got this guy, 6'9", 7'5" wingspan, guarding point guards. Point guards.
Well, this man, he looks the part of a lottery pick. He is an absolute stud. He went to Michigan. Here's a look at the resume. Hail to those victors. He's got teammates here on a national championship squad. He said, I want to go to Michigan. I want to win a title. He did. Yaxel Lendeborg is with us courtside. Yaxel, how much fun has it been to be with Adai and Morez and knowing you've got that title in your hands, and hey, all the Wolverines are in Chicago?
Yeah, it's been super fun. You know, those guys are super talented players. You know, both provide a lot of versatility. And just being able to have a jumbo lineup like that was really, you know, interesting. You know, and it really inspired me just to get better at my game so that lineup can work out a lot more.
How did that change your game? Obviously, this is your first year at Michigan, but did it allow you to explore different parts of your game you hadn't before?
Absolutely. There was many opportunities this year when we're all three in the game. I get the full court press at point guard, or just switch all around 1 through 5, and, you know, just be able to guard everybody on the court. That provided like a lot of joy for me, you know, and it unlocked some kind of motivation, I guess you can say, to make me want to be a better defender overall. And it completely helped me out, completely changed my game, especially with my outside game. I shot a lot of threes this year. Shot more this year than I have
37%.
Yeah, so felt good doing that, and, you know, just felt good being able to play with that lineup.
Yaxel, this time last year, you were one of those guys, you kind of surprised everyone, and it was one of those, okay, could I stay or do I go back to school? Do I go to Michigan? You had a lot of Michigan fans that were nervous. The coaches were here. They were nervous that you might stay in the draft. You obviously made the right decision. But what went into that decision, and what are these players on the court? What's going to go into their decision, you know, whether to stay or go to the draft?
I would say for me, my decision was solely based on how confident I felt in myself to be able to perform in the NBA level and continue to, you know, prove myself and earn a spot on the court. You know, I felt like I wasn't completely there yet, so it took a lot of thinking and a lot of, you know, just overall understanding of how much do I really want to be in the NBA and how, you know, how much do I think I can, you know, I guess change so I can benefit myself in the NBA. And as far as these guys, I would say the same thing. If you don't feel like you're ready, don't force yourself. You know, there's always next year. The NBA is always going to be there, you know.
We go to a lot of workouts, practices, shoot-arounds, and more. I got a chance to spend some time with you throughout the season. A couple of games in January. And what also stood out about you guys, you and the Wolverines, was how much of a professional setup your setup was. You would have a shoot-around at 1 o'clock, but Dusty and some of you guys were out there at noon working on different things before going through the whole game plan. How much would you say you benefited from an NBA-like setup in Ann Arbor?
I would say 100%. Everything that I wanted to improve on, I did that last year. You know, my habits, you know, just my thought process, thinking like a pro. I went through a lot of trial and error that year as well. So it definitely just helped me out and made me feel a lot more confident, a lot better in being in this situation this year.
We're looking at some of your measurement. I want to know what's going through your mind. Like when you step up here, you know that the spotlight's on you. You've obviously had it on you your whole career, but like this is okay. Time for that one singular test. Like how do you balance it in your brain?
Man, you know, just try to think about not messing up in that moment. You know, all the eyes are on you. You know, this is the moment that you've been waiting for. You get to see all the other guys go ahead of you, and it's just like, man, like now I really gotta, you know, be able to do this and do it at the best level that I can. You know, I felt like if you guys see the vertical jump, I didn't do the best I could. But man, you know, it's still fun to be out there and get that experience.
Is it as much as a pressure as a game?
I would say yes. I think this is more pressure than a game. I feel like in a game, it's a lot more free-flowing. It's easier to go through.
I want to ask you about your two teammates, because we were saying before you came on the broadcast, if you, Adai, and Morez all go in the lottery, it would be the first time in over 20 years that a team had 3 lottery picks who weren't freshmen. It was Billy Donovan's Florida Gators.
Nice. Dang.
Break down, why should a team, we know why they should draft you, why should a team take Adai Mara in the lottery, and why should they take Morez Johnson in the lottery?
Adai Mara, man, he's a very, very skilled big man. You know, he can pass. I feel like that's one of his best attributes, besides the block. You know, so I mean, he's so good at, you know, just manipulating defenses. You know, he's a great rim protector, and his three-point shot is going to come along very, very nicely. I mean, he's a very smart kid, very unselfish guy, and I'm sure that he's, you know, he'll be able to fit in any NBA system, you know, as long as he continues to work. And Morez Johnson, he's just a freak of nature, you know. If you guys seen the measurements, he's very athletic, very mobile. Another guy is unselfish. I know I used to joke around about him not passing the ball much last year, but I know he's a willing passer. It's just, man, he doesn't like doing it sometimes. But I definitely think he'll be the better pro out of all 3 of us.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Morez Johnson's going to be the best pro out of the 3 of you?
I think so, yes, sir.
Wow.
All right, when you look at this time, you're getting this out of the way, and you look ahead to the NBA draft. What do you anticipate your emotions to be like on draft day?
Oh, my gosh. Before they even finish saying my name, I think I'm going to be already full of tears, completely crying. You know, I'm going to try to get around the table, hugging everybody before I lose my mind. But, man, I don't think I'll be able to speak once that moment happens.
Man, you've been a pleasure to cover, and one of the cool things about your journey is you sought out to do something, and then you, Adai, Morez, Elliott, you sacrifice some of the great things you can do individually to say what's going to be best for the team. And when you climb that mountaintop and you think back to that Monday night in April where you guys had gotten past a tough, plucky UConn team, what comes to mind when you think back to that moment now?
Just like you said, the sacrifices. You know, all of us were unselfish guys. All of us knew what we needed to do to win, and we all implemented that into the games. You know, there was nights where we all sacrificed many, many shots. You know, just to feed the hot hand, or just to, you know, get everybody in a rhythm where it can benefit all of us. You know, and I felt like it just stemmed down to how much we all actually loved each other and actually liked hanging out with each other. You know, all the off-court stuff eventually made us a lot better on the court.
Yeah, Axel, your humility really set the tone for that. So I was told by somebody around the program, yeah, you just did it with Morez. You were like, he's going to be the best pro. You did that all year long. You're like, we don't have a best player. And everybody's watching that. We're like, yeah, you do. You're the best player. But you really set the tone with that unselfishness. Was that something that just came naturally to you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty much how I was raised. I was always raised to, put others in front of me, and I'm going to find joy in anything that we do as long as we win, and whether that's me having 4 points or 25, I would be fine doing that. And this group made it very, very easy because nobody here has secret agendas. Everybody wanted the same thing.
What have the team meetings been like here? What's some of the feedback that you've been getting in these meetings this week?
Man, I've been getting a lot of positive feedback so far. I wouldn't say I had any bad interviews. Everybody was being so open and honest with me about me having a good year, making a good decision, and just how much I've grown, being at Michigan. So I mean, I feel very, very happy, and they make me just rethink every single day how lucky I am that I got to play for a school like Michigan.
Let's have some fun with you here and go rapid fire to close. Your favorite meal?
Oh, I would say Wagyu steak. Yeah,
How's it cooked? How's it cooked?
If you're buying,
Medium.
we're coming.
Yeah, I got you.
Medium, folks. So a little bit of pink there. 3 artists on your pregame playlist.
Sienna Sparrow, Olivia Dean, and Janae Aiko.
Who would play you in a movie or show?
That's a tough one. I would like to say Michael B. Jordan, man. He's just so versatile, so I'm going to go with him. We're both light-skinned, man. I'm going to go with him.
If you could go to any store, where are you heading?
GameStop. Yeah, absolutely.
What's your game? What's your favorite game?
2K, MLB, anything like that. Yeah, whatever you got, I'm good.
Jackson Lendeboer, bringing the heat with us. We appreciate your time. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
There he is. He brought the heat all. Chicago Water Tower in all its glory here in the Windy City. It's NBA Draft Combine Week, and our wonderful NBA entertainment crew has gone all access with the guys. We take a look at the draft order. And it's the Wizards who are at number 1, the Jazz at number 2. Adam Finkelstein, as you look at this order, we've talked a lot about the top 4, top 5. When we get to 6 to 14, which team or two are you most interested to see what they'll do?
Can I back you up one?
Yeah.
I think 5 is a turning point in this draft because that's where you've got those 4 freshman point guards and a Clippers team on the clock that just acquired Darius Garland at the trade deadline last year. So do they take one of those point guards? Do they try and figure out who Garland can coexist with? Or is the trade market open? Are they taking calls, John Fanta? Those are some of the interesting dominoes that I'm very intrigued to see what happens.
And the Pacers thought that would be their 5th pick. It instead belongs to the Los Angeles Clippers. The Hornets will round out the lottery picks as we welcome in a man who plays for the New Orleans Pelicans. It is Jeremiah Fears, the younger brother to one Jeremy Fears, who just did some very good things in our first scrimmage. All right, Jeremiah, you went through this process. Now, Bro is going through this. How much fun are you having watching him?
I'm having a lot of fun being here, and it just brings back a lot of memories from last year when I was here. So being able to come back and support him, and I know this is a big week for him. So just being able to support him and just continue to give him some motivation, some encouragement, and just being here.
And, you look at your brother's game, and can you break down his game? Nobody knows him better than you do. Break down his game for us. He led the country in assists this year.
Yeah.
What were the battles like growing up in the driveway playing against each other? But what did you see from him at Michigan State and here at the Combine?
He was really competitive. The one-on-ones growing up was really competitive. He's always been playing like that, a pass-first point guard, just getting his teammates involved. And just being able to open up the floor for his teammates and make the game easier for them. And I think he did a really good job of commanding that tonight. Earlier this morning, and he just don't stop talking. That's something me and my dad was just talking about in the stands. From the moments he's on the court to him being on the bench, he just continued to talk and continue to lead, and I think that go a long way. There's not too many point guards like that in today's game. So just being able to keep that edge and continue to bring that every single time you step on the floor.
You and your brother were both kind of well-known prospects in high school. I remember interviewing your brother. I think it was probably his first national TV interview, and he just committed to Michigan State. And I said, what do you know about Mateen Cleaves? And he said, not much. And I said, well, you're going to remind Michigan State fans quite a bit of him. What do you think it would do? Handicap Michigan State's chances for me next year if they're lucky to get him back for one more year.
Man, it would be huge. both years he's been there, well, all 3 years he's been there, he's been huge for them. Just that constant edge that they need, the leader on the floor, and he's been talking to Mateen and Magic, and I think they do a great job of just being the back piece of that, and just continue to teach him what it takes to win. And I think he did a great job. He went 2-0 here, and it just goes a long way having somebody like Magic Johnson, Mateen Cleaves in your ear, and calling you, reaching out, making sure they send texts before and after the game, and that goes a long way for sure.
You were the 7th overall pick in the draft a year ago to the New Orleans Pelicans. Rookie year in the books.
Yep.
If you could go back in time and tell yourself something a year ago exactly, what would your advice or your insight be?
My insight would be definitely focus in on the details. The details is huge. Going through that first year and just continue to ride the waves. Don't get too high, don't get too low. You're going to have good games, you're going to have bad games. But just continue to stay in the gym, continue to work, and continue to keep getting better, and the results will show.
What was your welcome to the NBA moment this year?
I would probably say guarding Kevin Durant or Luka.
Yeah.
Two really skilled players.
They're okay. Yeah.
And they've been playing in the NBA for a really long time. So just being able to go up against them, take on that matchup, and continue to go out there and compete. That was the most important thing for me, and continue to show up every night.
What's the biggest difference in your game now than it was when you were between these lines a year ago?
I would say maybe my IQ and physicality, just being more physical. The NBA game is really physical, from the point guard all the way to the big position. So you got to definitely be more physical, and just continuing to focus in on your IQ. That's huge. Continue to watch film, ask questions if you have questions, and just continue to learn each and every day and take those matchups really personal.
14-4-3 for you in year one as a New Orleans Pelican. I know you obviously want the record to be better, but when you think about where you guys are at, you got a lot of young talent, a lot of intriguing talent, and what you want it to be in New Orleans, how would you assess where things are and where things could go with them?
I'm really excited. Like you said, obviously the record could have been better, but we got a lot of young talent, and we've been in the gym ever since the season ended, and just continuing to focus on what's next. And I think we do a really good job of staying together, continue to talk. Whether some guys are there, whether some guys are on the road, we continue to talk and stay connected. And I think that's going to go a long way. It may not show this year, but next year we're looking forward to having a better year and just continuing to keep building and stacking from where we left off.
Having gone through this process a year ago, what was the advice that you gave to Jeremy going through this? I know you didn't play in the scrimmages, but just the combine and all the team meetings, the medical, everything.
I sent them a text before it all started. I said, just go out there, have fun, enjoy it. And don't put too much pressure on a possession, maybe a drill that you went through, maybe a shot that you missed. Don't put too much pressure on that. It's really still the game of basketball. Just go out there, have fun, enjoy the moment. Take a lot of pictures, a lot of videos, because it'll be something you remember for the rest of your life.
Are you still little brother? Or is he like, all right, little brother, even though you're in the league and he's how's that dynamic?
It is. It's still the same. Sometimes I'll be telling him some stuff, and he'd be looking at me like I'm still the older brother. So it's a great relationship that we have. I think it's something that we just continue to build. It's the way we was brought up, and just being there to support each other, whether it's basketball, whether it's off the court, whether it's a birthday, something like that, just continuing to support each other and continue to have each other back through everything. I think that's kind of how my parents raised us, and we just continue to carry it on.
Very cool.
Any good beignets that you found in New Orleans the last year?
Definitely. I've been going to Cafe Du Monde. Beignets are really good. I need to slow down a little bit. Picking up a little bit of weight.
You're okay. I think you'll be all right.
Yeah, I need to slow down a little bit, though. So I'm going to relax a little bit in the summer.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You go to Cafe Du Monde whenever you want. Jeremiah, great to see you, and best of luck with everything going forward.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
There he is, Jeremiah Fears, younger brother to one Jeremy Fears, who balled out today. Could he head back to East Lansing? Will he stay in the draft? Nonetheless, it's been a lot of fun to watch a young man who played for Tom Izzo and showed off his skill set. Has been ringing throughout Wrigley Field because the Chicago Cubs are 27-16. They've been dominant at home. They had a 14-game winning streak there. They're 2.5 up in the National League Central, and we're not far from Wrigleyville. We are at Wintrust Arena for the AWS NBA Draft Combine, where Darius Acuff Jr. has been putting on a show this week. A look at his measurables, one of the quickest in this draft class. Adam Finkelstein, what do you love most about Darius?
That this guy is an offensive engine from day one. He's a shot maker, he's a playmaker, he makes those around him better, and he takes care of the basketball. One more thing to add, this guy's balance is off the charts.
That balance and that electric vibe that he gives off on display for the Arkansas Razorbacks, who made it to the Sweet 16, and Kristen Peak is now joined by not only Darius Acuff, but Malik Thomas supporting Billy Richmond.
Yes, that's right. John Fanto, we got Darius Acuff Jr., Malik Thomas here at the Draft Combine. They're supporting Billy Richmond Jr. Darius, how fun has it been to go through this process, not only with Malik, but with Billy?
It was very fun, including TB. We're all four of us here. I saw Nick yesterday, so just seeing our whole starting five here, it's kind of a blessing. Just seeing everybody, we all support each other every day.
Malik, how has the combine been for you? And you know, you guys came in as freshmen, you and Darius, and everyone was wondering how it was going to work, but you guys proved that you guys can coexist in the backcourt together. He helped you, iron sharpened iron. How's it feel to be here, and how's the week been?
I would really just say it's been a blessing to share this moment with my teammates who I shared the whole season with, and we get to share these same rooms, these same courts, and experience together. It's been nothing but special. I'm excited to see what the future holds.
Darius, you are a bucket getter. We saw that all in the SEC Player of the Year. There was one game, went into double overtime against Alabama. You had 49 points. You guys didn't come up with the win. Do you ever think about that missed free throw to get that 50-piece?
People don't think, I ain't really miss a free throw to get 50. I kind of missed it like when I had like 45, so it kind of wouldn't, but yeah, I think about it sometimes. But he fouled out, so I think if he would have been in the game, we still would have won, but he had like 32, so yes. I think if 4 of our players fouled out, if they would have been in the game, I think we would have got the win.
All right, Malik, just give me your scouting report. I'll ask both of you guys this, but give me your scouting report on Darius. How do you stop him?
I would say, unless you Malik, you can't.
Darius, what makes him such a dynamic shooter?
He knows, I always say he knows where to be on the court. Like if I'm trying to find him, he knows where to spot up and shoot it. If he need dribbles, he gonna take them. And I tell people in here, he like the most toughest shot maker I ever seen. He gonna make the tough shots, he shoots them, he got confidence in himself. But when I'm guarding him, he might give it up though. I don't know.
You guys are so competitive. I'm sure you had some battles in practice playing for John Calipari. What is it about the quintessential John Calipari guards that gets you ready for not only the combine, but the next level in the NBA?
I would really say Coach Cal's guards already come into playing for him with a chip on their shoulder, already want to get after it, like prior to playing for Coach Cal. So when me and Darius stepped in to Arkansas this year, into Fayetteville, we already knew what the season was going to look like. We already were predetermined on achieving everything that is in store for us. And yeah, like playing for Coach Cal was special just because of who he's had coming up, but he also had a lot of dogs. Any special memory from Coach Cal, either at practice or during a game, that's going to stick out to you? He probably got some. He kind of had more moments with him than me, probably. But no, I wouldn't say so. He animated. Everybody know that. You kind of you gotta listen to him. That's what I did. I just listened to him and just let him be him. Who's your favorite Calipari guard that came before you? You can't say yourself, but who's your favorite? Malik. Malik? Aw. What about you, Malik? Don't say him or yourself. I was definitely going to say Darius, but Billy more of a wing, so I'm going to say DJ. Okay. That's an amazing vet that we had this year. DJ Wagner, yeah. Played under Cal already, so as soon as we stepped in there, he kind of showed us the ropes on some of the things that we didn't already know or understand, so definitely DJ. I mean, you guys could have said Shea, you could have said Tyrese Maxey, but you said your own teammate. What does that say about this group? I mean, you won an SEC championship with 2-star freshmen, you know, in the backcourt, and you made a good run in the NCAA tournament. What does that say about Calipari and just the Arkansas, you know, just about the coaching staff and what they built there? It just says a lot. Like, if you have a good team chemistry, you know, you can do a lot of things. Like he said, our vets was DJ, TB. Those guys, they helped us a lot. Nick,
But DJ helped us from day one. He's like you know, our big vet to us. That's our boy. Same with Billy, TB, Carter. Everybody on the team played a part, and I think if you got good chemistry and good connection, you can go a long way on the court.
TB, Trevin Brazil, he's such a high flyer. Was there a dunk either in a game or practice that really just impressed you?
I'm going to say that he had a fast break steal. It was versus Winthrop, and I remember that game because I had Texas. Ooh. Oh, yup. So I was going to say Winthrop when I played somebody that I knew growing up because that game stuck out to me just because of the relationship, and he had a windmill fast break, which was like super elongated. Like he brought it all the way out, but Texas, Darius came off of a ball screen. He found the gap to pass it to him. After he made the pass, it was just a standing dunk, but how high he got on it, yeah, it was crazy.
It's crazy.
It was crazy.
All right, well, he's Darius Acuff Jr., Malik Thomas, they're watching Billy Richmond III. Trevin Brazil was playing in the game before. Arkansas players all over the combine. Thanks, guys, so much for joining me. We'll be right back with the second scrimmage. Don't go anywhere.
Of these next wave of stars taking the hardwood and showcasing their skills. Who will be those gems? Who will shine here in Chi-Town? We find out with scrimmage number 2 on our Thursday. I'm John Fanta. She is the queen of grassroots basketball in Kristen Peak. He is the director of scouting at 24/7 Sports. He is Adam Finkelstein. Look, we had a great first game, a lot of fun to watch guys like Dylan Mitchell, Jacoby Gillespie, Jeremy Fears all shine. We're getting ready for game 2. It's going to be Team Weems versus Team Adams, and there's a couple of guys that we're really looking forward to watching, one of whom is a guy by the name of Baba Miller. He showcased his skills yesterday.
20 points yesterday. He's someone that a lot of NBA scouts know from a few years ago, just with his upside and his length and his versatility. And so seeing it come together at Cincinnati and yesterday in the game, he's someone, as this second round kind of thins out, can really surprise a lot of people where he's drafted.
Who will you be watching in this second game?
You know, I think Terrace Reed is a prospect that has a chance to play his way into the first round. Had a monster NCAA tournament, posted terrific measurements here at the Combine, as he did last year. He went through this process a year ago. And I think he's someone who had a solid day yesterday and could leave a very favorable impression if he can pick it up even a notch further here today.
And Terrace Reed is a next-level thinker. Dan Hurley has talked about his maturity. And how about the aggressiveness he played with in the NCAA tournament? Connecticut does not get to the national championship game if not for Terrace Reed's production level increasing big time on that run through March Madness.
No doubt about it. He became their focal point. At the beginning of the season, this was kind of an ensemble cast, if you will. Everybody played an equal part. In fact, he was on the injured reserve list to start the season, but the longer the year went, the more he became the focal point for that Huskies attack.
Golden State Warriors assistant Chris Weems heads up Team Weems. Chris played some great college ball at Stanford, and he's going to run out Tyler Tanner, who is someone that is increasing on the boards. Keyshawn Hall did it all for Auburn, the NIT champs. And Nick Martinelli, all Big Ten, phenomenal Big Ten talent out of Northwestern. Nearby, Otega Owe and Flory Badunga. A lot of Louisville fans interested in Flory's path because Flory Badunga, Jackson Shelstad scheduled to go to Louisville. On the other side for Team Adams, led by Garius Adams, player development coach with the Sacramento Kings. Braden Smith, we know his name, the legend at Purdue, college basketball's all-time assist leader. Watch out for Kumra out of Tennessee State. We've got our eyes on Aaron Kumra. We've got our eyes on Felix Akpara, John Blackwell, and Bryce Hopkins. Bryce Hopkins, who started out at the G League Combine, got the elevation to here, and the St. John's product is in Chicago.
What's crazy about Bryce Hopkins, and he had a wonderful year at St. John's and a great G League Combine, and he deserves to be here at the NBA Draft Combine. But this is a player people forget. In the high school class, he was in the same high school recruiting class as Chet Holmgren and originally was committed to Kentucky. And he talked about his journey, you know, and the way he got to St. John's and playing for Rick Pitino. And he just said, I found the right coach. He pushed me this year. And I said, are you tired? You've already gone through one full combine. And he said, no. Playing for Rick Pitino, he prepares you for this. Not everyone can play for Rick Pitino. And I'm ready to go. And I've talked to him. He's given me a lot of good feedback. And he's someone that I'm really looking forward to seeing too.
We will watch the dynamic forward. We brought it up earlier, but a guard for Team Weems, Tyler Tanner, somebody to watch. Team Weems will be in blue, and Team Adams will be in the white. This is a fun guard matchup. From a point guard standpoint, you get Tanner versus Braden Smith.
No doubt about it. And I think Tanner's another one. Now, he's got a stay-go decision to make. One, I don't want to say a polarizing prospect, but there's a wide range of opinions on him. Obviously, he's undersized, but he's a big-time athlete, got a great nose for the basketball. And could he play his way into the first round? I think he's right on that fringe, and this could be a telling performance for him here today.
Mark Byington has done an unbelievable job at putting the Commodores back on the national map. Here's Otego away, playing for Mark Pope's Kentucky Wildcats. With a delivery and a strip by Braden Smith out of the gates.
Flory Badunga was getting ready to hammer that thing, but instead, the other end, there's a hammer for you.
An alley-oop right out of the gates for Team Adams to get on the board. I'll tell you what, that was Felix Okpara with the jam. Now a foul will be called. But good afternoon, Felix Okpara.
Yeah, that was a heck of a start.
Felix Okpara coming into this combine week and looking to get on people's radars. Well, that's how you start a game. Pride of Tennessee, another volunteer. Here we saw his teammate Jacoby Gillespie put on a show in scrimmage number 1. Bodies to the deck here, and we're gonna get a jump ball.
You saw the verticality of Felix Okpara, and he averaged nearly 2 blocks per game throughout his 4 years. Originally from Lagos, Nigeria, grew up initially playing soccer before shifting to basketball. So there's a lot. There's a few players that Flory Badunga, the same thing. He actually played high school soccer
as a senior. Kokomo High School in Indiana.
The photos are hilarious.
The journeys of these guys, it really is remarkable. Multi-sport athletes, champions at every level. We know that with Cam Boozer, one of the headlines. That'll be a turnover here by Hall. A little bit of miscommunication with Owe. So Team Adams will give it back to Team Weems. Team Weems in the white, Team Adams in the blue. John Fanta, Kristen Peak, Adam Finkelstein with you. As we round out NBA Draft Combine Week in what is a historic draft class.
And you know what, guys? There is so many stay-go decisions in this game in particular. You've got John Blackwell committed to Duke. Does he stay in the draft? Does he become a Blue Devil? We already talked about Flory Badunga, the #1 ranked player in the portal, leaving Kansas, going to Louisville unless he stays in the draft. Tyler Tanner, does he go back to Vanderbilt? So this is a very intriguing game, not just for NBA decision makers, but for some of the biggest college programs in the country.
Hall couldn't hit. Rebound to Team Adams, and here comes Bryce Hopkins. Hopkins glides in, altered by Martinelli. They've got numbers on the other end. Keyshawn Hall from Tanner.
Out of Auburn, he goes by big guard, started out at UNLV, really changed his body over the course of 4 years, becoming more, just more athletic. Fit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Say it plainly. I'll say it plainly.
Well, when I talked to him, I said, what changed? As we take a look right here, nice outlet pass, Tyler Tanner, but for Keyshawn Big Guard Hall, I mean, he told me when he was at UNLV from February to June, he only ate 2 meals a day. He ran at least 1 or 2 miles a day, and he did that consistently for 3 months. And I said, well, how much did you weigh at UNLV? And he said 280, and he came in at 222 in the combine, 6% body fat. So got very, very serious about his physique, and it's paying off in a big way here at the draft combine.
Even in recent months, there is a visible difference in his body now versus the beginning of the college basketball season. So this has been a continuous and linear process for him.
And oh, by the way, this past year for Auburn, he was a real diverse creator. 91st percentile on pick and roll possessions per synergy. Tanner kicking. Shot clock down to 6. They play 4 10-minute periods here. Down to 3. It did not reset. Tanner launches. Does not hit, and Okpara's been everywhere, wearing those volunteer orange shoes. Braden Smith off a screen. You just don't know pre-draft process who can emerge from one point to another. Look at the 1 year, Dante DiVincenzo.
Yeah.
Put up an amazing national title game appearance, and then nailed it here at the Combine as Akpara has back-to-back buckets to start.
I remember Andrew Nemhard had a big-time Combine performance here.
Oh. That one is off. In the shot-making department earlier this week, we saw Bennett Sturtz and Alex Caravan.
Bennett Sturtz was fantastic in the shooting drill. He went that night. We had, what was it, Tuesday night? This is such a, everything's blending together.
Yes.
Yes. Tuesday night, and then...
Tuesday night was the last time I went outside.
Tuesday night there was a group, and then Wednesday was the full day of everybody else. But Bennett Sturtz in that shooting drills, he would not miss. And I was sitting with a couple NBA scouts, and they just said, yeah, we really like him. He's kind of a Peyton Pritchard, but and when you think about what Peyton Pritchard was at this level.
Oh, that got altered by Hall, and you can count that in the foul. What a finish by Aaron Nkumra.
Great extension on that finish as well, and what a story he is. I mean, started out as a D3 player all the way to the NBA Draft Combine.
Went to Nickel College.
Nichols
College, D3, Worcester State, 2 years at Tennessee State.
Worcester.
Okay, sorry. I'm not a Northeast. You know what? My mom is really going to be upset with me. She's from Hopkinton, Massachusetts.
Come on. We couldn't get Worcester?
Sorry,
No.
Mom.
You're right. It is not pronounced the way it's spelled.
It's not. But, man, was he unbelievable. I mean, you think about the journey to go from Division III to being the best player in the Ohio Valley Conference. That is amazing. Aaron Nkumra is everything that you would love to see out of Draft Combine Week, because now the nation, the world is getting to learn about this young man and how much resilience he's shown to get here in Chicago.
Well, not only that, he said, I want to show other players, I want to show kids coming up that there is plenty of different paths to the NBA other than just one-and-done talent. And he said head coach Nolan Smith at Tennessee State instilled a lot of confidence in him this past year and told him just to embrace this moment going through the process and just be himself on and off the court.
And Nkrumah. Oh! Aaron Nkrumah! He hit that from Worcester.
Embrace that.
Big time.
Wow.
And the foul.
Learn the name, America. Aaron Nkrumah.
This is a player, he averaged 17.7 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 3 assists at Tennessee State. I asked him if he's had any meetings this week. He said he met with the Spurs, Jazz, and Lakers and has future workouts with the Grizzlies and Knicks.
Give this man a roster spot.
There you go. I mean, you can't overemphasize what a great story it is.
Showing his defense.
Yeah.
Both sides of the ball.
Tanner, baseline. To Hall. Keyshawn Hall can't answer. That's all because of Nkrumah's defense.
He's the story right now, and what a story it is.
And how much would you guys say when you're evaluating players, evaluating teams, the ability to do what you're asked to do? That you're not going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You're not going to be LeBron James.
I think there's a really important lesson in here, because we will remember the second-round picks who became stars, the Jokers, the Brunsons, the players like that. But the better pathway if you're a second-round pick is one of efficiency, of figuring out what your role is and identifying your niche and then becoming a master of your role. And you think about some of the second-round picks like a Jalen Wells, a Cam Spencer, guy who was not going to, I don't know what his combine numbers were, but I guarantee you they weren't.
Team Adams up 14-6 on Team Weems in our second scrimmage here at the NBA Draft Combine on NBA TV. Chris Weems, Golden State Warriors assistant. We're pleased to have him wearing a mic for us today. Let's get a peek behind the curtain.
Kai. Watch the back screen. Hey, body tight right here. Be ready to play. Down the stance. Sink a little bit, Toby. Sink a little bit. All right. Back screen, we got to switch. Back screen, we got to switch. You can just drop it to the paint. definitely fouled him, but he got grabbed first. Tell your partner he got fouled. He fouled him, but he grabbed him first. We went through this yesterday. They can't grab first, and then we get penalized. Red, Rob. Red. You good, Rob? Same thing. Outlet, Toby. You push. Keep it moving. Look at him. That's and one. Good play, Nick. That's why I'm trying to say they grabbing you first. Hey, they working on their shit too. Hey, Kai, y'all, let's do the same thing, same ATO. Shot, Toby.
Hey, red right here.
I like it.
Red right here. One shot.
Yep. Yeah, Key. Good. Hey, is Ortega going for Key next at 3? Yeah, send him now. Yep. Yeah. The first ATO. Yep. Shooter. Go, Key, get this one. God damn, we need these. Back. Stay there, Nick. Pressure him, Nick. That's a carry. Good. He can't stop the dribble. Come on, man. So he can't suspend the dribble. He carried 4 times. ATO. Set it, double, set it. Use it. Turnkey. Blew it.
Well, we thank Chris Weems. Love his insights. As Terrace Reed will head in the line for one more, while Adam Finkelstein grabs the popcorn from upstairs. Let's go to Garius Adams, the player development coach of the Sacramento Kings for Team Adams. We're really thrilled to have both these guys wearing mics for us. Some fun all access. Listen in.
There you go, into the ball. Good job, Billy, by yourself. Into the ball. Nice. Yo, hands up. We had that, though. There we go. Swing it. Nice. Good job, Lowe's. Get to it, Billy. Come on. Be aggressive. Drive it. We got 8. We got 7. We got 5. We got 4. We got shot. That's us. Hey.
0.5 decision, 0.5.
Hey, Lowe's, good play. That was a good play. Let's run it again. Come on, you come off this time. Yeah, that was good. The high split, that was good. You can do that, or you can go to wide, you can go to angle, whatever you want. Ball's in your hands. Be aggressive.
Hey, Bill, squeeze. One. Yeah, squeeze. All right, Bryce, get the shooter.
Box. Come on. We need a good one. Come on. Everybody get up the floor, up the floor. Up the floor. Nice, nice. Go, let's go, let's go. Shoot it, shoot it, shoot it, shoot it. They're in the bonus. Both teams are in the bonus, right?
Talk to me about who we got subs if you once you take over.
Yeah, for sure. So these guys are starting. So right here, these are the guys just subbing in right here at that time. So at the, mark,
at the end of the quarter, we don't have any subs?
At the end of the quarter, we can have JB coming in, Aaron, and Felix coming in.
Gotcha.
The Terrace.
Ready, nice, nice, nice. Come on. Take care of the rim, fellas. Nice, nice. Back, back, back. Match, match. Come on. Out. Nice, nice. Hands. Get up there. Let's rebound. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Nice, nice. Set it, set it, set it. Nice, nice, nice. You got him. Perfect. Talk, talk, talk. Nice, nice, nice. Ready, ready, ready. Be big, Los. Be big, Los. Come on, get in there, Bob. Nice. Good work, good work. Hey, match back up, fellas. Good work, good work.
Well, we appreciate Darius Adams for putting the microphone on. And I got to tell you, folks, this broadcast has never sounded better than with those two just carrying the show. And congrats to Greg Fonseca. Welcome to the NBA team, Greg, for the longest continuous live mics in NBA history. Terrace Reed with the slam. But what was awesome about that was, if you think that these guys just show up and roll the balls out, there's a lot that goes into this. Credit to them for taking the time out of their schedules to be here, and there's a lot of instruction happening here this week.
Yeah, and they're getting really good coaching. I mean, these guys know what they're talking about, and you know, seeing this high level of basketball as we close out this first quarter, we've had a lot of really great pace to this game, and this is just a scrimmage. Like, these players, they didn't play together during the season.
You also saw a glimpse of the terminology that they use here. A lot of people watching at home might not have understood what they were saying, but you have to be able to speak the NBA language if you want to be able to play in the NBA, and that's what it sounds like.
As we hit the end of the first quarter, and for Team Adams, it was a dominant opening frame with Aaron and Kruma. 7 points. Terrace Reed Jr. with 7. Quarter number 4, draft night. The Sacramento Kings, they need to go get a guard for their future. They got some expiring contracts. I think Russell Westbrook could be a mentor. I think Kingston Flemings would fit well with the Kings. I know they'd like Darius Acuff. I think he'll already be off the board. Michael Brown Jr., put him together with Cooper Flagg and Kyrie Irving. I see potential. Mike Schmidt's now down there in Dallas. Congrats to Mike. LeBaron Philon Jr., the Warriors, they got to start thinking about life after Curry. They do. And LeBaron Philon Jr. can be a young guard who can help them in their next stage. Morez Johnson Jr., if he's on the board still at 14. How about the Charlotte Hornets continue to bulk up their front court and get Morez Johnson? And then the Pistons need shooting. I don't think it was great news that he had the performance he did yesterday at the Combine, but Cameron Carr would help in the shot-making department. Detroit needs more shooters. What do you think of Fantas Fitz?
I don't hate it. In fact, I like them all. The only one I'm going to push back on, the only one, just because of your popcorn dig, by the way.
Mike up the coach again.
They had caramel popcorn up there, I'm just saying. Michael Brown to Dallas, I don't like. He and Kyrie, I don't know. What do you think?
I don't hate it. And
well, that was a ringing endorsement. Now I really feel good.
No. And this is what I'll say. When you look at Michael Brown and what he's been able to do, especially with that U19 Team USA team, they went over to Lausanne, Switzerland. They won a gold medal. And he was arguably the best guard on the court through trials.
And the first half, player.
And yes, and the first half at that tournament. And so I think he's someone that's adaptable. and someone that could slide in alongside someone like Cooper Flagg and really help space the floor with his shooting. And I don't hate it. And here's the thing. Kyrie Irving, how many times is he hurt?
Well, that was my concern.
Okay.
Can I also say this?
Please.
Do you think he'll still be around at 9, or do you have him going sooner or later?
So I will say this. I have him going sooner. However, I currently have 4 consecutive point guards mocked between 5 and 8.
So do I.
And I think that while that is reflective of my big board, that may be unlikely. It would be, I don't want to say it's unprecedented, but it would be rare to go point guard, point guard, point guard, point guard. So whether somebody makes a deal, whether somebody breaks it up, I don't know. And what concerns me a little bit about that fit is just you have a point guard who's coming back from injury, who's getting a little older, and who, durability is going to be a question. I think durability is also something that people have asked about Michael Brown with the back. So,
And, we'll be able to talk to him about that. He's going to come on the broadcast a little bit later. But with Michael, I mean, you saw him at the Pro Day. Did his back look hurt?
No, he looks completely healthy
fantastic.
right now. Yeah, 100%.
It is as fascinating a storyline as any to this draft because you have Brooklyn at 6, Sacramento at 7. You've got the Atlanta Hawks at 8. By the way, the Hawks are frisky heading into next year with some of their rising talent. Now you could get another transformative guard. And you've got the Mavericks at 9 with Milwaukee at 10, Golden State at 11. What happens there? I know you said that's why the 5th pick with the Clippers could set the tone of the rest of the night. But it's really interesting to see because Brooklyn, they're in great need of talent. Yeah. Sacramento is too. The mix of best available talent. Do we go outside the box?
Well, that's why I think 5 is so intriguing because Brooklyn, Sacramento, and Atlanta, there's a true need there for a point guard. You could stash a young point guard in any of those. You get a look at Mike Schmitz there, my former ESPN colleague, now the general manager of the Dallas Mavericks. The one that doesn't need a point guard is the Clippers at 5. And so the reason why I have them taking Keaton Wagler is because he's the one with the size to play off ball next to Darius Garland. But the Clippers may say, given the uncertainty of their future, hey, we're going to try and flip this one asset into multiple assets down the road.
In terms of the 4 guards, Wagler, Acuff, Flemings, and Brown, how do you power rank them in terms of talent? Not where the team drafts them.
I'll go Darius Acuff, Kingston Flemings, Keaton Wagler, and Michael Brown.
Mine is very similar. Acuff is the top of my. So I have Wagler mocked highest because of the fit with the Clippers. Acuff is higher on my big board, but they are in a identical tier. Like I think they are comparable talents. Acuff is, I think, we know what he's going to be. Wagler, I think, is more undefined because he's so early on in his trajectory. This is someone who never played on a sneaker circuit, really never played a national high school event, went to Illinois, should have had a huge transition to that unprecedented level of competition, and there was none. He was great right off the bat.
It's one of the more shocking rises over the last year by a prospect that we've ever seen.
Absolutely. And when I went to Illinois, I went to Champaign, and I got a chance.
I saw you there.
Yes, we did see. But when I sat down and talked with him, I mean, we take a look at Fink's top 10 here, and you see Wagler, the mock. You see Wagler going 5, and I understand that he kind of slides in more as a combo guard with what he did with Andre Stojakovic and Kylan Boswell. But when I was talking to Wagler, he didn't even know. I don't even think he realized how good he was. And that was halfway through conference play in the Big Ten, and he was just carving up teams. So to have a player be so raw and so talented at this stage of the game, I mean, yes, he's going to need to put some weight on his frame, but a lot of people are looking at him as Tyrese Halliburton 2.0.
There are quotes from his own parents saying, we just hoped he wouldn't have to redshirt. No one knew how good this guy was going to be.
In a world where most parents say he's a number 1 pick.
You're right. And, to your point, John, most kids in Wagler's shoes would have a certain type of energy towards me, the guy who does the high school rankings, like, he's got none of that.
That's right. We have that energy towards you
no
after
doubt.
several hours.
No doubt.
Working with
Understandably so, by the way. But Wagler's just a much nicer person than either of you, it turns out.
Come on.
He's a better shooter, too.
Yeah, well,
at least than you. At least than you. KP's the MVP.
Folks, these are strays here. Do you see what's happening? This is on camera.
Let's mic those coaches up again.
Take it to the judge. And Kruma is off on his three. Andrei Stojakovic, stay or go?
Go back to Illinois, no doubt.
He is getting tempted, though. I know he met with some teams that really like him, either in the early second round or late first. And for him, I don't think it's about the money. I think it's about the right situation for him to be able to develop if it was the right program. But you're right. Ultimately, I think he goes back to Illinois.
I don't think it's much of I think it's very smart he went through the process. I think it's very smart that he's getting this information. But if it were about the money, I don't think it's close. And I think there's some things that he can improve his game at Illinois next year as well. I mean, if he can improve his shooting splits and become someone who's got some gravity spacing up, then I think it's potentially a different calculus for NBA teams a year from now.
They've got David Mirkovic coming back.
Oh, yeah.
By the Illinois Fighting Illini could win it all next year.
They're right there.
John Blackwell says, if I land at Duke, I want to win it all. That's why I want to be a Blue Devil. He just buries a three, the Wisconsin transfer, and all Big Ten selection. We're going to talk more about these gems in this historic 2026 draft class. Chicago River and the classic lady, First Lady, sailing through. We are having fun here at the NBA Draft Combine, and happy 30-year anniversary to Derek Fisher, because in the 1996 draft, this man over to my left heard his name called 24th overall by the Los Angeles Lakers. Championship rings, they would end up happening. Several of them. Derek with us now, kind enough to join us. So we were talking about it, 1996 NBA draft. You're picked 24th overall after 4 great years at Little Rock. What do you remember about your pre-draft process and the interviews with teams?
Man, I mean, the pre-draft process for me was like a dream come true, just going through the process. I had no idea whether I'd be drafted or not. Wasn't sure if I was good enough to actually play in the NBA. So I was just pouring every ounce of effort and energy that I could to it, and just tried to encourage those guys, every year at the Combine, just to embrace the process. You're not guaranteed anything. You're not entitled to anything. And I just remember feeling like I was having a dream, man, every step of the way.
You've been doing this a long time, and during the Combine and the testing and the shooting drills, you actually get some time in the center court to be able to talk to these players. And you've seen a lot of groups come through this. Obviously, you've heard about this group being one of the deepest draft classes, so talented at the top. What are your first impressions of these guys?
Well, the talent is definitely there. I think what's impressed most of us, I think at the highest levels this week, is who they are as young people.
Yep.
So many of these guys are so respectful, already kind of have professional habits in terms of how they carry themselves, and a real humility, even though they are on top of the world. I mean, they're getting paid good money. They're on some of the biggest platforms and stages you could ever think of. And so it's a choice for them to treat staff and people the right way. And so when you combine that with the talent, the league is in pretty good hands and moving in that direction.
Over the course of these last 30 years, you've been one of the people who's been able to experience the game from so many different perspectives, playing, coaching at different levels. I'm curious, which one has been the most rewarding?
Oh, it's a great move. I think the most rewarding is, for me, is still always when you really feel like you're helping players improve and get better, not just on the court, but also understanding, especially at the professional level. It's called professional basketball for a reason. And so there are certain skills and refinement that you need on the court, of course, but there are some softer skills and other things that are important to maintaining a good professional career. And when you see players really embracing that aspect of their journey, it's not just about points, but it's also about the purpose and why you're here and the impact you can have. So the coaching part of it feels the most immediately tangible, rewarding aspect of it for me.
The 5-time world champion Derek Fisher, my NBA on NBC teammate, joining us here courtside in Chicago. All right, June 26, 1996, Continental Airlines Arena in East Rutherford was the site of the draft. Were you in East Rutherford on draft night?
No, I was in the east side of the locker room in Little Rock.
The east side of the locker room.
Yeah.
There was no draft night party?
No party. We had a small contingent. A couple of my college coaches, Corliss Williamson, who was a close friend of mine that got drafted in 1995. He was also in the room. My agent, and just watching, wishing, and hoping somebody thought I could help their team. And so I had no idea.
How'd you get notified?
When David Stern called my name on the screen.
Wow. Really? So you didn't get a phone call before?
No.
You're
no phone
kidding.
call. No. I telling somebody this recently, they were surprised as well.
No one tweeted at first?
Nah, that wasn't quite yet in existence. But yeah, I found out as Commissioner Stern, RIP to him. So, you know, he's 24th pick in the 1996 NBA draft. The Lakers select Derek Battie, who you guys remember from Temple University. He was also in that draft class.
Oh, wow.
So until he actually said Fisher, I wasn't sure it was me.
Wow.
That is insane. And then what was your reaction?
My reaction was I was surprised as everybody else.
What was the pre-draft like with the Lakers, and was there a part of you that when they were on the clock that made you think maybe?
No. I thought that was the worst of my pre-draft workouts. I really did.
Wow.
I worked out for the Lakers on a Friday at the Inglewood YMCA. There was no amazing practice facilities. The court was like peanut shells, so I couldn't stop. I couldn't change directions. It was at the end of a week. I'd been to Denver, Orlando, Philly, Detroit, one other place in Phoenix, I think, and I was tired. I was exhausted, and I didn't feel like I worked out very well for the Lakers at all. It was my favorite team growing up as a kid, but nowhere in my brain did I think that the Lakers would select me in the first round of the NBA draft. And so it was all a surprise, to be honest, John, all of it.
Wow. Why were they your favorite team growing up?
Irvin Magic Johnson.
Thought you might say that.
Yeah, Irvin Magic Johnson. Just as a kid, I learned that winning was what allowed me to feel the most impactful with any team I was on. And I thought Magic had done it the best that I'd ever seen. And I wanted to be like that. Nowhere near the player he was, but I wanted to have the impact that he had on the court.
And when you look at, these players getting ready to, some of them enter their rookie year, what was your rookie year like, and what can they expect, especially with the pace and the spacing, and just the physicality of the NBA game?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, especially during this combine process, is still understanding, like, where you get drafted could change your life.
Yeah.
The difference for me being the 23rd pick or the 25th pick could change me even sitting here. Right, and so going to an organization that just happens to align with where you are as a player, what their roster construction is like, how it fits who you are as a player is so important. So it's why you have to really try to own this process of it. To me, some of the advantages that a lot of young players coming into the league have now is some of these concepts in terms of offensive spacing, defensive philosophy, and coverages. They're getting exposed to that in college. And so their ability to shoot the three now, is very different than when I came into the league. We didn't shoot threes from this far out as consistently as these players do. And so I think that's why you've seen so many of them transition well into the NBA at such young ages.
Have you seen anyone that reminds you maybe just a little bit of yourself?
All these guys are better than me. But I think, obviously I always trend towards lefties because, that fits my eye better. I think Nick Boyd is a guy in this draft class that has similar characteristics. He's willing to pick guys up full court. He's talking and communicating on the court, does a lot of intangible things, shoots it good, seems like a really good teammate. And so I have.
And he's a winner.
And he's a winner, which is one of the most important things. I also enjoyed watching, like I've seen Jeremy Fears Jr. play on TV, at Michigan State, but I hadn't seen him play.
Yeah.
And guys that enjoy making other people better and facilitating the ball, and he's talking and communicating out on the court. Like, those are fun guys to watch for me. And then I think some of the bigger guys with size out here, like Toby Lawal, to me is a guy that athletically, obviously, he jumps off the page, but he's also just great energy. Like, I think he could, any team he ever gets a chance to play on, he's going to make them better just because he's a good young dude.
Five-time world champion, NBA Combine Camp Director Derek Fisher with us. And Derek, here we go. And this is such a fun time to see this class. And also, I know how much fun you had calling a variety of games for NBC this past year. The league's in great hands. This rookie class that we've had in the NBA, showing us the young talent. It's on display.
Yeah, I hope they're not as good as we were in 1996, but they're going to be darn close. There's a lot of depth in this class: shooting, size, guard play, versatility, star power, and so they have it all. And yeah, league's in great hands, man.
Great to see you.
Thank you, John.
Derek Fisher did a tremendous job, and there he is. Let's go into the time. The climb that's been made by Aaron and Nkrumah has been amazing. From a Division III star to D1, getting it done at Tennessee State, to now G League Combine to AWS NBA Draft Combine invitee. Aaron with us now. Aaron, your story is inspiring to all of us hoop lovers. How have you grinded through every single level of basketball to be here right now?
It's just really been my faith in God. I've just been trying to push through all the adversity. Just remember that I'm supposed to be here, so just keep pushing myself every day to be the best, and all the work ended up paying off. So,
played 2 years at Tennessee State. You guys won the conference this year. New head coach with Nolan Smith. What sort of confidence did he give for you to come in here through the G League Combine and now the Draft Combine and show that you can not only compete with the high major players here, but we saw some of your athleticism and your shot making ability as well?
Yeah, Coach Nolan, he kind of just gave us the ability to play through the mistakes, so we kind of all benefited off that. I try my best to just make the right reads on offense, play through my mistakes. But yeah, he did a good job in letting us play. So,
a lot of the basketball world is learning your name this week and trying to familiarize themselves with your game. What would you tell those people if you had to break down your game?
My game is really all around. It's not one-dimensional. I try not to box myself in, but I know I'm able to make plays with the ball. Push the pace when I grab rebounds. The best rebound is a guard rebound, so I try to make good plays off the rebound. So, yeah.
Aaron, we're so happy for you. Keep grinding, man. Congrats on your journey thus far. Good luck with everything.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Congrats on everything. Yep. It's awesome.
Really is amazing to think about it, folks. Aaron Nkrumah, a guy who was at Worcester in Division III, gets to Tennessee State, shines there, starting his college career at Nichols, and now here he is. It's not easy when you get selected in a huge field of guys to play in the G League Combine, because then you're trying to become one of like 5 or 6 that get an invite to this Combine.
Well, and John, I'm going to be honest with you. He grew up about 75 minutes from where I live, and I had never heard of him in high school. He and I, off camera, I was saying, who did you play for? Now, I think he might have played, that might have been like AAU during COVID times where it got shut down a little bit, and that could have been why he was so far under the radar. But I don't think that in 20 years of doing this, I can't remember someone from New England who I'd never heard of go on to be at a platform like this. It's incredible.
Good for him. From D3 to best player in the OVC to NBA Draft Combine. What I like here is what's on the hoodie of Michael Brown, who has just sat down with us. And what does that say, Michael?
Control your destiny.
You're controlling it, young man. You're doing big-time things. A guy, folks, who will be one of the top picks in the 2026 NBA Draft out of Louisville. Michael, what has this week been like for you, and what's been the biggest thing on your mind this week?
Everything, honestly. It's coming in and just being myself. I think that's what I do best, and I'm enjoying this process. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be in the position that I'm in. Plenty of kids want to be in the position that I'm in, so just not taking it for granted. I'm just blessed. I'm just blessed to be here. So,
Michael, when I talked to you at the beginning of the week, you just seemed so relaxed, and you were ready for this. And just through the combine testing, the on-court shooting, your pro day last night, you looked incredible. I mean, there were question marks about your back injury this season, but you look like you're 100% fully healthy. Are you dealing with any lingering issues, or are you ready to go? Look at you shaking your head.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. I feel amazing. I mean, I feel like how I was feeling before the season started last year, and that's where I wanted to be the whole time. And, you know, thank God for me. You know, I had 2 months of just straight recovery, really just focusing on getting back to where I was before. And, I mean, I feel amazing now. Like I said, I'm enjoying this process. I'm having fun with it, so it's amazing.
Outside of showing everybody you're fully healthy, has there been anything else that you've really wanted to leave the NBA decision makers walking away with when it comes to who you are as a player?
Yeah, just, you know, proving myself again. I think I had a really good run at U19, which really helped me out a lot going into the season. And obviously dealing with the back injury, it kind of set me back a little bit. But just really, you know, showing and proving why I deserve to be up there again. And, you know, that's been my main emphasis, is just trying to get better every single day and just show why I feel like I'm proven. So
I also feel like a lot of people don't know how elite of a shooter you are. They see 34% from 3, and then I'm like, no. You got it. Like, you got to look at more than just that.
Well, you just go back and watch the NC State game where he had 45 points. I was there for that.
You know, but so much of, like, you know, draft analysis is like, okay, let's see what he shot from 3. Let's see what the synergy numbers say, and it's not a wide enough just look at it. And you mentioned his pro day. I mean, it was raining threes out here yesterday. Was that something that you're like, hey, no, let's get it straight. I'm one of the best shooters in this draft.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people are going to look at percentages. Definitely some things that I could have did better in terms of, you know, shot selection, and that's easily correctable. You know, when you go watch film and you know, run the tape back, and you definitely see some shots that you could have took that were better than the shots that I did take. So just reproving myself that I am who I am. And a lot of people came in and said, like, that's one thing you can do is shoot the basketball.
100%.
So that's definitely been on my resume, and it's going to stay on my resume.
Yeah, no doubt.
What fuels you?
What fuels me? I mean, I've been underrated all my life, and I've been doubted all my life. So, you know, I carry a chip on my shoulder with that. And like you said, the stuff that you like on this, control your destiny, that's what I'm going to do. So
you say that, and I think I'm going to say this in a nice way, but you saying you have a chip on your shoulder, that is the best case scenario for the NBA, because they're going to get the best version of Michael Brown. And you talked about that U19 team, and we were talking about it, and during that tryouts, you were arguably the best player on the court, regardless.
Yes. Sign me up was.
Yes.
And should have won MVP. I said it.
And when you talk
That's
about
your hype committee here, they're all over.
Hey, listen.
I say like
they're invited to the green room.
Hey,
they're looking for green room invites.
Hey, listen, we ain't gonna start nothing. You know, shout out to AJ. I actually was talking to AJ before I came up here, so you know, I'm happy. I'm happy that he got the MVP, but I'm also happy we got to go together.
And what I want to ask you, you talk about this chip on his shoulder, and with your injury, and you start seeing players that are projected higher than you, but you're your own person. What's sort of some of the feedback that you're getting from teams as you meet with them? Is that being echoed as well?
Yeah, that's definitely being echoed. And I think with me being who I am all the time, I think that's a great thing, because, you know, I'm, you know, high character guy, very down to earth, very humble and hardworking. I think that's what teams are looking for in all of us. So I think I kind of have an advantage in that at that moment, or would you just say like in that type of situation, right? Just being a good person and being the person that I am, I think it's going to carry me a long way.
I think there are a lot of public misconceptions about the draft process. One of them is that when you go into these initial interviews at the Combine, that everybody peppers you with these really difficult questions. There's some organizations that just want to make a positive impression on you, whether they're in a position to draft you now or thinking like, hey, maybe our paths will cross sometime in the future. Has there been any interview question this week that has, let me rephrase it, how have you considered the interview process this week? Has it been easier or tougher than you expected?
It's been easy. It's definitely questions that I expect. Nothing has been, you know, out of the ordinary that people say.
Yeah.
I kind of prepare for that stuff like that. Like everybody, the expectation of going into the interview is like they're going to ask some crazy stuff. So that's my expectation, and when they don't, that's kind of just, you know, normal conversation, just having normal dialogue. And like I said, I'm enjoying this process. through every interview that I take, you know, just being myself within that interview and within talking to those people in the front office, I think it's going to go a long way for me. So,
2 to 3 guys in the NBA that you really enjoy watching you take things from. Who are they?
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on his self-creation. Jalen Brunson, how he plays at his own pace. And I definitely would say, like, a Tyrese Maxey and getting downhill.
The franchise.
And also, listen, Don's probably going to get at me for saying those 3. So, shout out to Don first and foremost.
Shout out, Don.
Shout out to Don first and foremost. But those
Donovan
are the 3.
Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell.
That's Donovan Mitchell. But those are the 3 that I'm, you know, studying for.
Don's going for a series win tomorrow night.
He is. I told him.
Somebody at this table is a big Cavs fan, but we're not going to say.
No.
Somebody. I'm sure who you're talking about. No, that's great. Michael, congratulations on everything, and way to prove yourself this week. Good luck. Do you have your draft night fit?
I'm trying to get it figured out. Y'all gonna see something. Y'all gonna see something.
Well, they're going to see it up because they might be invited to the Green
Yeah,
Room.
absolutely.
It's like graduation for me.
Yeah.
All these players I've covered for so long.
Y'all gonna see a surprise.
I got one more, John.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Because this is the lottery of the freshman point guards, right?
Yes.
What is it that differentiates you with not just the freshmen from any other point guard in this draft?
Yeah, I just feel like I'm versatile, honestly, and I feel like people, you know, it goes unnoticed that I'm a two-way player. Like, I enjoy guarding on the defensive end when it comes to a one-on-one situation. You know, they talk about it like, you know, as a rookie, they're going to go at you. And I accept the challenge. Where I came from, that's a sense of pride. So I think definitely the two-way tenacity that I could bring to the team, and also just that winning mentality and just being a great teammate off the court as well, I think can separate me from a lot of the guards.
You crushed those interviews, didn't you?
Yes, he did. He crushed this one. That is for dang sure. Michael Brown Jr., good luck with everything. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate his time. We are going to take a break here in Chicago, and we'll actually stay here for a moment. We got a 63-37 score for Team Adams on top. In terms of recapping this game, Otego away with 11 points, and then you got a whole slew of guys who have showed out. Bryce Hopkins, Felix Sakpara, Aaron Nkrumah, our halftime guest. Braden Smith, the NCAA's all-time assist leader, and here comes Nick Boyd. Boyd, beautiful shuffle to the hoop. Nick Boyd.
I don't remember Derek Fisher doing that.
Nick Boyd to average over 20 per game. Also, he played in the Final Four when at Florida Atlantic in 2023.
Not only Florida Atlantic, but he was on that San Diego State team that was so good. And he told me that was when his confidence really started to grow. And he wanted to come here with something to prove. And we mentioned that Illinois games, both those Illinois games, and what he was able to do against Keaton Wagler. And somebody asked him who's the toughest player to guard in the Big Ten, and he said Keaton Wagler. I said, well, you did a pretty good job when I was there watching. You were there for that game too, John Fanto.
Yes, and he was fantastic. Felix Sakpara will have free throw. Road to Brooklyn, and we are joined by a guy who knows how to find those dreamers and has brought them into his organization. He is the Minnesota Timberwolves general manager, Matt Lloyd. The Wolves in action tomorrow night, 9:30 Eastern time, 8:30 local, at the Target Center for Game 6 against San Antonio Spurs. So, Matt, you're a busy man right now, but you're here at the Combine. When you're sitting down and taking in all the action, looking at these guys, what's your thought process?
You know, this is such a it's part of the whole like organic process to find the players. So if you put all your stock into this, you maybe get one result. All your stock into something else, one result. So organically, this like ties everything together by the end of the season.
You mentioned it's you know, kind of like a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
You guys have scouts that go out during the college, they go international, and then you guys all come collectively here to the Combine. You get to talk to the players for the first time, and you know, like you said, it's just kind of ties it all together. But what's this week like? I mean, it's a long week.
Yeah, there's a lot of bandwidth allocation. You know, and playing in the playoffs is always so fun at this point of the season because we kind of come in and out for the games. But this is an important step in the process. The NBA was great for us this week because they gave us all the top interviews that we had requested today. So we did We did 8 interviews today over 4 hours. And then we came directly here, and then we've got 3 pro days that follow this. So it is a long day, but it's very, very fun, and it's very, very worth it.
One of the things that I'm always interested in is the gap between kind of the public perception of the draft process and how it works behind the scenes. What would you tell people who may be getting their information, whether it's media or social media, like what's the biggest difference between perception and reality of how the draft works?
That's such a good question. And one of the things that we like to tell the players when they come in to interview is that the public perception and the public domain, that all that stuff is great, and everyone's part of it, and there's a lot of information gathering that they do, but they don't know what we value and what we want. And it may be different than the public perception. So if any player out here, Braden Smith, puts too much stock into what his perception of the public domain is saying, then they don't know what we value, and they don't know what our process is. So it's an important part of it, and it's great for content, and it's great to watch and to read about, but we have to know what we want, and we have to know what's helpful to our team. And it's our responsibility to Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert and Jaden and Nas, et cetera, Dante, to introduce someone into the group that we think meets our standards and meets our culture. Tim Connolly does an unbelievable job of setting a tone organizationally and being communicative and having everyone tied together, and it's our responsibility to make sure that we're pushing that forward.
It's so much fun to watch your team play night in and night out, and guys like Nas Reed and Jaden McDaniels who just provide spark after spark, Rudy Gobert, role allocation. It's real with your team.
Yep.
And what's interesting, Matt, is certain guys may make sacrifices on certain nights for the team to win, and then you have the Anthony Edwards situation against the Nuggets, and you guys still are able to forge on and find a way.
Yep.
When that tone is set, how much did it prepare the organization to figure out a way even when the odds are stacked against you?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Finch does an incredible job of being a direct truth teller. And Tim does a great job of being a direct truth teller. And organizationally, we have a communicative environment. So because we build relationships with the players and the coaches build relationships with the players, at any time there can be a conflict, and conflict resolution is apparent because there's trust. So the roles are all set. Everyone contributes to the team. And when, like, we lost Dante in the first round, and people have stepped up. TJ Shannon was getting ready. He didn't have to, he didn't have to get ready. He stayed ready the whole year, and he's had a great second round of the playoffs. So when you're in that environment and there's trust that's between the coaches, the players, and the front office, you can usually succeed. And then you couple that with the amazing talent that we have on the team, especially in Anthony.
You mentioned, people like us, me and Adam Finkelstein, we do mock drafts, and let me just make this clear: we don't know anything. Like, we
speak for yourself.
Oh, Adam and KP know a lot. She's just being humble.
No, but you said something that really, is so true. It's you kind of block out the noise, and you guys hone in, and you decide what's best for our program and our team.
Yep.
And when you're looking at drafting these players, whether they're one and done or they're a 4-year player, do you have certain expectations for their rookie season, or is it more like, okay, we're going to bring them in, we have a really good feeling about this, and let's see what they do in our system? Yeah,
it's great. And the player development program that Coach Finch has in place over the last 5-6 years has elicited a very good response. Jaden and Nas were in particular were part of that, but even obtaining someone like and acquiring someone like Nickeil Alexander-Walker from Utah, we acquired him as part of a trade, and we had an injury, and he had to play, and he responded. And then we got in the playoffs his first year with us, and had an injury that knocked Jaden out of the playoffs, and he guarded Jamal Murray in the first round, and then we signed him. He was with us for 2 years, and he went to Atlanta and became the most improved player in the league. So he did that. He did that on his own because he bought into the work that was a part of our normal everyday culture in Minnesota. So I don't know if it's fair. It's almost like a case-by-case basis how you approach all these guys. We have rookie Johan Berenger this year. We drafted him last year with the Knicks pick that we had in the trade that we made for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. And Johan has worked all year. Johan and Rocco Zakarski, our second-round pick, were spectacular in the G League. They were spectacular every single day as workers, and our expectations are that they take another step based on that work. And again, because it's a truth-telling culture and because there's a communicative type of environment that we establish in Minnesota, the expectation is that elicits a good response from them as well.
Wanted to ask one more if I could, because I get this question a lot, and I would guess you get it far more than I do. People dream of working for an NBA team and being in the type of role that you're in. Your path was a little different than most. What is your advice to some 16-year-old kid who is watching at home, knows he might not be able to play in the NBA one day, but hopes to be able to have a career in it?
Yeah, it was by my sophomore year in high school I figured I wasn't probably going to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
So maybe even before that.
Yeah.
But I also, you know, I think sometimes you just have to, and I don't know if I was just doing this intrinsically or whatever, but whatever I was doing, I tried to do it to the fullest of my ability, and I tried to be where my feet were at every step. Now, if you asked John Paxson that at Chicago when he hired me in the basketball operations department, maybe he would say something different, or Gar Forman, or but I think just being where your feet are and trying to be enthusiastic in the role that you have to play, and we apply that to players too. We can't tell a player, oh, you need to do this, 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 and this if I'm not willing to do it, and if I'm not willing to show up every day and have a good attitude, if I'm not willing to show up every day and invest in the team as much as I possibly can, it's hard for me to tell a player to do the same thing. So it's changed so much. I'm old, you know, so having been in the NBA now for almost 30 seasons, I think it's evolved and grown. And we used to come to this combine and with maybe 6, 7 of us, and now we have 20 credentialed staff members here, you know, so it's a lot different now. But I think the one thing that carries over is just being where your feet are and showing up every day and trying to contribute in your role as much as you possibly can, and then that leads to the next opportunity.
The pride of Bensonville High School.
Yep.
And a guy who read a lot of Rick Barry's pro basketball scouting reports.
Every single edition, yes.
Every edition.
Every single edition. And the writer of that book,
Jordan Cohn.
Jordan Cohn.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a longtime pro scout, and that was really influential. You know, reading those books, I was like, man, I want to do this. Somehow, if I can do this, I'd like to do this.
And now you're doing it, my friend. Great to have you with us.
Oh, thank
He is as good as any story in this NBA draft class. Keaton Wagler, from a sub-150 recruit in the rankings to offers from Minnesota and Illinois, going to play for Brad Underwood after a phone conversation that ended due to bad service. And now a top 7 or 8 prospect in this NBA draft class. And our Lauren Green caught up with Keaton earlier this week in Chicago.
When you look at everything that you accomplished in college, do you kind of separate that from what you want to do in the NBA, or do you let that bleed a lot of confidence into this process?
I take the confidence with me into the NBA just to know how good of a player I am.
And then what about recent? Are there guys that you really pay attention to?
Recently, I've watched a lot of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The way he plays is so smooth, so I try to, take some of his stuff and put it in my bag.
What's a way you can immediately impact an NBA's roster?
Bringing a winning mentality, doing what the coaches ask, if that's to, bring the ball up and make plays, or if that's to, space the floor, shoot threes, guard, play defense, get rebounds, any of that stuff.
Yeah, what do you think some of the biggest learning curves will be if you make it to that level?
Pretty sure that last year was one of the fastest that teams have played in the NBA, so just got to get used to that. I got to be in good enough shape for all that.
Well, that's great stuff, and Keaton Wagler has had an incredible journey, to say the least. What do you think of Wagler in this draft and where he may fit in that top 7?
The sky's the limit for Keaton Wagler. He has great positional size. He measured very well at the combine, 6'5" flat foot. And he's just taking everything step by step. I talked to his college roommate, Andre Stojakovic, a funny story. He was actually living in freshman dorms, and it was 20 minutes away from the practice facility, and everybody else was in the same area, the entire team, and Andre had an extra room, and so Keaton asked his veteran player if he could move in for the remainder of the year, and they became roommates. And you know what? It brought them closer together. And Andre told me, Andre and Kylan Boswell, who were watching here in this second game, told me when they started to get on the court with Keaton Wagler in July, they were so excited because they knew that he was going to offset some of the offensive pressure that they were going to have and generate in the Big Ten, and that he was going to be able to alleviate some of those ball touches offensively, and that's exactly what he did. He just surprised everyone.
It really is a remarkable story as we watch Nick Boyd throw it up to Nick Martinelli. You think about this in the Big Ten. Zach Edey led the conference back-to-back years in scoring, and then Nick Martinelli led the conference the last 2 years in scoring, Adam.
It's very impressive, and he's a guy who's really come out of nowhere. Was not on a whole lot of draft boards last year, despite the fact that he led the Big Ten in scoring, but just continued to chip away, stayed at Northwestern, built up his body. He's got a frame now that will translate right away. He's known as a competitor. The level of production you cannot argue with, and so I think he's got a very compelling case and a decent chance to hear his name called on draft night.
He had 18 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists yesterday, and averaged 26 points in the Big Ten tournament. I mean, you want to talk about someone that ended the season on a high note. He shot 41.7% from 3 on 3 attempts per game at his size, and he played all 4 years at Northwestern. I think it's crazy now that we're shocked when a player plays all 4 years at one university.
Well, and listen, I don't know this, but I would suspect he could have been paid larger sums of money to go somewhere else. Obviously, someone who valued the degree, the program, and you know, making Northwestern head coach Chris Collins proud. Coach Collins was here yesterday.
Well, and what Chris Collins has built at Northwestern is amazing. Brooks Barnheiser became the first Northwestern player selected in the NBA draft since Evan Eschmeyer in 1999. And now you might have back-to-back years of Northwestern Wildcats drafted. That is simply remarkable. As Tyler Tanner hits the elbow, Jay, Tyler Tanner is an interesting story at this draft combine.
Yeah, let me just say, as the kids would say, that was tough. That step back, a little give and go into the pull-up there. I know this game has gotten away from his team, but that was a pretty impressive sequence there from the Vanderbilt point guard.
He is an analytics anomaly. Sophomore point guard out of Vanderbilt. He had 13 points, 5 assists, 2 steals. He is undersized, but you know, he's got a big decision to make, and just at no hesitation. You see the defender right there go under the screen, and he's the first defender back after taking that shot.
He's under 5'11" without shoes on, but
he measured at 5'10", yes.
But he's long, and the amount of dunks that he registered this year is a very compelling illustration of how athletic this otherwise undersized guard is. You combine that with the fact that his hand-eye coordination is absolutely elite, so he gets his hands on a ton of balls defensively. Listen, I think he's probably best suited to go back to college, but I think whether it's sooner or later, he's going to figure out how to be the exception to the rule about the level of size necessary to play in the NBA.
That was Flory Badunga with the jam. Martinelli with 13, Otego away with 15 for Team Weems. And then for Team Adams, Garius Adams was with the Kings. And their side, Akpara with 13, Reed with 17. As we look back at Tyler Tanner, a nasty jumper right from his spot, the Vanderbilt Commodore star. Boyd doesn't fall. Putback is there. There's Flory Badunga. So what do you guys think with Badunga?
You know, we really haven't said his name that much here over the course of the last 2 days. And to be honest, that is phenomenal news for Pat Kelsey in Louisville, because this guy was the #1 ranked player in the transfer portal. He's massively long. He's a big-time athlete. He's incredibly mobile, so he's switchable defensively. Still room for him to keep building up his body. He can do that in the Louisville weight room. He's gotten a lot more physical and efficient in his 2 years at Kansas, but I thought he had a chance to be a first-round pick this year, and he's got a chance to improve his stock with continued growth. How about that?
Badunga on a pogo stick. And Team Weems within 15, trying to make this interesting with 5 and change to go. Flory Badunga.
Little slip screen, great hands, rise above the rim, unbelievable.
Special talent is Badunga, showing off his size, his skill, his hops. Down the stretch we go of life, and maybe you'll be Bennett Sturtz. Bennett Sturtz, who was at Division II Northwest Missouri State with Ben McCollum, who was at Drake with Ben McCollum, and then was at Iowa with Ben McCollum and went to, the Elite 8. And now the 22-year-old sharpshooter is gearing up for the NBA draft. Where could he go?
I think he's a first-round lock, and what we saw from him on the court, especially in the shooting drills, he went 20 for 25 in the spot-up shooting, 21 of 28 in the side mid-slide drill, and 22 or 30 in the off-the-dribble shooting. So you want to see consistency when you're known as a shooter, and let me tell you something about Bennett Sturtz. You mentioned him as he was just so consistent. He averaged 18.3 points, 3.5 assists in postseason play, but the most impressive stat line was playing 40 minutes and only averaging 0.8 turnovers in 4 tough NCAA tournament games. And so Sturtz is so consistent. He's going to be one of those guys that teams are going to look at to bring him in and run the secondary unit. So I think he had a great combine.
I will say this, I completely agree. He's a big-time shooter. I think his feel for the game is even better than his shooting, though.
Yeah.
I think this is someone who's just an elite processor of the game, and when you look at some of the commonalities of players who have been undervalued in the draft process over the years, if you're trying to find those common denominators, processing is usually one of the most frequent ones. And so, listen, Sturtz, you can wonder about his athleticism, his age, his defense, how much of his production was contextual to Ben McCollum's system. This guy's a baller. I think he's a genius on the court. He's super skilled, and he's all about ball. He was in here yesterday watching the games completely by himself, just because he wanted to watch them.
Yeah, that's a hooper.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a guy. By the way, what Ben McCollum did in year 1 at Iowa, that was unbelievable that they were in the Elite Eight.
The man can coach.
He really can. We've got a 15-point game here late. We look at some of the guys who have shined. Felix Okpara with 15. Terrace Reed with 17 on 7 of 9 from the floor. Otega Owe with 15. Owe, high-level scorer. We saw him come up big in the win over Santa Clara for Kentucky, a game that they had to survive. Speaking of which, the Santa Clara Broncos have their own maybe another Jalen Williams in this draft class, a guy by the name of Alan Graves.
Alan Graves, I mean, we saw him in, you know, Adam Finkelstein, he turned to me, he said, oh, he looked like he slimmed down a little bit. He was a little bit more mobile in the drills, and he looks like he has great size. And you look at Alan Graves, and I think people are going to hear his name called sooner in the draft than what the general public probably thinks.
Where did you say you had him mocked? You had him real high.
I did. I think he has Oklahoma City written all over him. So whether that's, what do they have, 14 and 17 or 12? No, it's 12 and 18 or something like that.
So you've got him mid-first.
Yes.
Okay.
Because they have the freedom, if they want to bring in someone like Alan Graves, to be patient with his development.
The thing people need to understand about Alan Graves is we talked about how the analytics love Tyler Tanner. The analytics love Alan Graves more than anyone because he provides overlap of statistical categories that are usually inversely related. So, for example, he's got great defensive stock numbers, blocks plus steals. Simultaneously, his assist-to-turnover ratio is phenomenal. He's a terrific offensive rebounder, and yet he can also space the floor. So he's got this overlap of physicality and processing, again, I said that word, that I think makes him very unusual. Now, talked about his conditioning because there were questions about just how athletic is he. Right. He's clearly in better shape than he was during the season. That's been a consistent evolution. And, you know, that the foot speed, and that's still going to be something that teams are going to have to evaluate for themselves.
Just a freshman.
Redshirt freshman.
Redshirt freshman from Santa Clara, averaged 11.8 points, 6.8 rebounds. But you talked about those stocks, steals and blocks, averaging almost 2 steals a game and 1 block per game.
And that's in under 23 minutes.
Yep.
The latest great development case, too, whether it's 1 or 2 years or 4 years from Herb Sendek, who is a legend. Santa Clara really should have won that tournament game. They were up by 3 within the final seconds. And then Otega Owe said, not so fast. Thoughts on Owe?
So I think Owe is a prospect that you have to have watched before he got to Kentucky to have a full appreciation for. And let me be clear, that's not a criticism of Kentucky.
By the way, folks, he's at the line right now.
It's just contextual, because at Kentucky he had to become more of an offensive alpha. If you go back and you watch his tape at Oklahoma, or you go back and you watch his tape in high school when he was at Blair Academy in team final, he played on an AAU team that had Jalen Duren, Derek Lively, and Amani Bates on it. He was like the fourth scorer and a guy who embraced being the gritty, hard-playing defender. The offense has kind of caught up more recently. So he's got that in him where he can be an elite defender. And I think the shooting, although there's still a hitch, has made enough strides. I think he sticks in the NBA, personally.
I agree, and you talk about his defensive versatility, and when you're looking at value in the second round, and this is a player in Owe who went through this draft process last year and got feedback and wanted to go to Kentucky and show that he has that offensive assertiveness to be that two-way player, because everybody knows what he can do on the defensive side of the ball, but when you look at him and what his role is going to be in the NBA, it's going to be that complementary role that we saw at team final with Jalen Duren, Derek Lively, and Amani Bates, and what a team that was. That was so fun.
His most important characteristic in the NBA will be defensively.
Yep.
And it's something that, because he had such an offensive load at Kentucky, we didn't get to see as much of. But that's why I say if you watch more tape and you do the due diligence.
He's picking up full court right here.
It's a role that he has had in the past, and here's a dunk.
There is a slam.
That was a little disappointing, though.
Otega away, having himself a strong game with 19 points. This is a 12-point game with 2.5 to go. We've seen crazier things. Hopkins on the drive, no. And here comes Team Adams. Hall, Keyshawn Hall, skate park. It didn't go, Reed with the board. Up the floor, Richmond lays it in. Billy Richmond III out of Arkansas.
I like that guy. Elite competitor, big-time athlete, defender, cutter.
He's got that quintessential wing body type for the NBA.
If he can make stationary shots consistently, he's an NBA player, whether it's this year or down the road.
Away, no. Trying to will Team Weems back, and here comes Hopkins. Hopkins lost his control, deflected, it's going to stay.
Good defense from Kylan Boswell. And people forget, Kylan Boswell was on a high school team with Jared McCain and also Donovan Dent. And I was at the game. They marched into the CIF semifinals at Sierra Canyon High School with Drake courtside, LeBron courtside. Bronny was playing in that game. Amari Bailey was in that game, and they won it. And it was Kylan Boswell who was the floor general on that team.
Wow. I mean, that's remarkable.
Just a random Tuesday in LA. Nothing else to do except go to Sierra Canyon High School.
He's also a guy, John, who exemplifies the pre-draft process, because he started at the Portsmouth Invitational. He played well enough there to get he was G League Combine guy, right?
No, it just straight to
played well enough to skip the G League Combine and get right to here. But starting in Portsmouth and getting to the NBA Draft Combine itself is an achievement.
Aaron Nkrumah with a 3, and Aaron Nkrumah has been a guy who's made his mark in this game. 12 points, has done some really good things on both ends of the floor. I've been impressed by the way he's challenged people defensively.
Yeah, trying to assert himself as a two-way player, because we saw his shooting ability, you know, that 4-point play. I mean, we've seen a lot of good dunks, but that was super impressive in that first quarter, and was very patient in the second and third quarter, and now he's starting to come alive a little bit defensively, and really be that two-way player for this team.
Somebody to watch, and an amazing journey from D3 to Tennessee State to the NBA Draft Combine. Braden Smith on the floor right now. We'd be remiss to not bring him up, folks. Just an unbelievable college career at Purdue, to be the all-time NCAA assist leader, passing Bobby Hurley's record in the NCAA tournament. Remarkable what he was able to do. He rewrote the history books in West Lafayette.
Not only that, but he played over 5,000 minutes, was a 4-year record, an NCAA 4-year record. Almost scored 2,000 points, 1,932 points, 8th in Purdue history, had 249 steals. That's 3rd in Purdue history. You want to talk about a player who's going to be able to go back to Lafayette whenever he wants, and they're going to show him his flowers. It's Braden Smith.
Yeah, you said it, 5,067 minutes. He passed Lionel Simmons of LaSalle. Lionel played for the Explorers from 87 to 90. He had 5,045 minutes. But 249 steals as well, 3rd in Purdue history. And that's what's amazing about Braden. Not only an elite mailman as a assist leader.
Yep.
But he also defended.
And he shot the ball well this week. I mean, in the combine and the shooting drills, 20 for 30 in spot-up shooting, 22 and 30 off the dribble, and 16 for 25 in the star drill shooting.
How about Aaron and Kruma?
It's Worcester. It's Worcester.
Aaron and Kruma, the pride of Worcester, coming up big time. That one doesn't go. Final seconds here. Keyshawn Hall, NIT champion at Arkansas. No. Terrace Reed with the board. Reed with 17 and 5. And for Team Adams, it's an 18-point win headlined by Terrace Reed Jr., Aaron and Kruma, and Felix Akpara. In our second scrimmage on this Thursday, it's Chris Weems' team that comes out. Coach Adams' team, rather, that comes out on top. What a performance by Garius Adams' group. And what a day here in Chicago at the NBA Draft Combine. We're going to hear from Terrace Reed Jr. in a few moments. The big bear for Dan Hurley's UConn Huskies. Went to a national championship game this past year, transferred in from Michigan. And he is in the house here at Wintrust Arena, and he helped his stock. I mean, Adam and KP, you were both very impressed with this man and did it for Coach Dan Hurley. Dan Hurley said this guy meant everything to our run to a title game. Well, today you meant a lot out here at the Draft Combine. Big Bear Terrace Reed.
Yes, sir.
You came here to Chicago on a mission. How would you define the mission?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of ups and downs, throughout the journey, but it's just a blessing going through this process. First time going through the NBA Combine. I've been leaning on AK a lot, just helping through the process, but trying to keep that same momentum rolling on to the NBA. So just having fun with it, enjoying the journey.
Going through this week with Alex Caravan, your teammate, who's been through this process before.
Yeah.
How is it just having him as a resource, and what was this week like?
I was asking him so many questions before we got here. Like, what do I have to wear? Where do I meet and interview with the NBA teams? How does it work? How long are the days? So really just leaning on him, knowing that he's a vet. He done been through it before, and just he has great guidance.
Terrace, one of the things that I thought separated you tonight beyond the box score was kind of your understanding of how to play in structure. Talk about how that has developed over the course of the last 2 years playing in Coach Hurley's system.
Yeah, I mean, the UConn system helped me so much. It's just going out there, really understanding the offense. What are my reads? What am I looking for? How can I take advantage of the defense? And also on the defensive side, what am I looking for? What are my reads in the ball screen defense? Are we going under? Are we going over? Am I fisting? Am I in the hard hedge? Am I in the drop? So really just helping my IQ and the understanding of the whole game made it a lot easier here tonight.
If there was a piece or something that you talk to with your circle, with Coach Hurley, with the organizations that you're getting interviewed by, if there was something that you think, oh, we're wondering if he can do this.
Yeah.
What is that something that you're looking to show? Yeah, it is part of who I am.
Overall, just my physical presence. I feel like that's the biggest thing that really got me here. My length, my size, my rebounding. Even though I could have done a better job here tonight, just knowing that those are the three things I could really lean on. Just my rebounding, my physical presence, and also showing that I could play. I could play in the short roll. I could play in space. I know my reads. I can hit cutters, and just working on my outside shot.
Terrace, you're a player. I mean, you were very buzzy you were a buzzy player coming in, and you could have elected not to play in these 2 days of scrimmages.
Yeah.
And instead, you decided to play to show all these executives here what you're about. How intentional is that? What were you hoping to show them?
I mean, it's just competition, man. You just want to get back on the court. I don't care where I was in the draft boards, mocks, whatever. I just want to go out here and play and compete. I feel like UConn really helped me with that, just understanding it's a chance to play. I haven't played a lot in the pre-draft, and the last really 5-on-5 I played was in the national championship. So it's just a great opportunity to get out here and compete.
This is a very important question. I want to end with this. Is there a better saxophone player in this draft than you?
No, sir. And I'm going to get back to, shout out Coach Hurley. I know Coach Hurley's watching. I'm going to definitely start sending him some videos because I'm going to definitely start playing a lot more. So the Bear's about to be back on the saxophone.
The Bear on the saxophone. Who needs Kenny G when you've got Terrace Reed? Terrace, congratulations on an amazing college career and now a future terrific professional career. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
He is Terrace Reed. We'll wrap things up in Chicago after this. Wintrust Arena, fantastic host site for the AWS NBA Draft Combine. Another year in the books. It's been a pleasure to be with all of you throughout this afternoon in the Windy City. Kristen Peak, Adam Finkelstein, John Fanta back here with you to wrap things up. Who impressed you the most throughout this afternoon?
Matt Abel, and I'm sorry, North Carolina fans, but he's going to have a very, very tough decision. He looked like the Matt Abel that we knew when we went through the U19 trials, what we saw in the summer when he went to the Donovan Mitchell camp, also Damian Lillard camp. He's sort of starting to feel himself again, and like I said, he added 8 pounds of muscle already. I thought he had a tremendous week.
It was Cameron Carr yesterday. The common denominator with my pick today is someone who's either in or playing for a spot in the first round, and it was the man who just sat next to us. I thought Terrace Reed Jr. was terrific. The fact that his team dominated play, he measured extremely well. He's massively long. He's got an NBA-ready body. He can think the game at an NBA level. He talked about how that was a byproduct of playing in that UConn system, being able to do it on both ends of the floor. He set huge screens. He rolled hard, got people shots. He was switchable defensively. All things he did today that might not necessarily show up in that box score, but that these NBA scouts are going to notice.
And I'm going to go with Jacoby Gillespie out of Tennessee because time and again, he got some big-time buckets for Team Rivers and really showed out. But I love your Abel pick. I love your Reed pick. I thought Nick Boyd and Jaden Bradley did some good things. We look at the NBA draft order. You talk about the Clippers at 5, how much of an inflection point to draft night that will be. Here's a big one. What the Warriors do at 11, what the Thunder do at 12, especially knowing Presti Magic and how it can work wonders.
Well, he's a genius. And the way you mentioned Magic and what he does. I don't think through the combine, he sat in the same seat the first 2 days for testing and did not move. I mean, I see this guy at the most obscure gyms. He's at USA Basketball Fall mini camp. He is just on another level, and they have a lot of options, a lot of great options at 12.
So, the question, whose stock has rose the most this week? Let's do stock risers. Kristen Peak.
Cameron Carr out of Baylor. He elected to play yesterday. He had the first 9 points of the game. And at Baylor, he was known as a slasher, but yesterday he was a shooter. He had 6 threes. He was 6 for 12 from 3, let it fly from all over the court, finished with 30 points. He was amazing.
Morez Johnson Jr., he didn't need to play 5-on-5 to make his impression. He tested off the charts physically. Power, length, athleticism. The shooting drills, those only helped too because he proved that he could make shots just like we saw this year at Michigan. A versatile two-way role player with an NBA body. I'm thinking maybe as high as the late lottery for another national champion.
I got a guy who I think reminds me of Pau Gasol, Donovan Clingan recently, Adai Mara for Michigan. He is a tower of a human being. And when you think about all that he can do on both ends of the floor, there has to be a place for him in the NBA, not just to get some wins, but to seize them and seize more. I think he could go 5th or 6th overall on draft night. That's what I think of Adai Mara. He could be the guy who becomes the draft night breaker that says, okay, enough with the guards. I know there's Wagler. I know there's Flemings. I get it. But I'm Adai Mara, and I'm going to add some size to this top 8 or 9. I really believe that.
And the thing about Adai Mara is what he went from UCLA to Michigan and the improvements that he made to his game. And we got to give grace to bigs, especially through this process. And the improvements that he made, the jumps he made, that just screams continued upside in the NBA.
Confidence is key with Adai Mara, and he's not just a giant. He's more mobile than people think. He's a big-time passer, as Yaxel Lundeborg told us earlier, and he's got some touch. If he shoots it down the road, look out. The ceiling's totally different than we expect.
The best two-point defense in all of college basketball belong to the national champions. The most efficient team in college basketball, the national champions. Adai Mara, Morez Johnson, Yaxel Lundeborg. It's going to be quite an advertisement for Dusty May and Michigan. A final thought from you.
That trio may just end up all getting their way in the lottery. Would be the first time a college basketball team gets 3 non-freshmen in the lottery since Billy Donovan's Florida Gators team.
What will intrigue you the most about this upcoming draft?
Oh, man, I'm excited to see how things shake up at top. I think that this freshman class has lived up to the hype and sometimes exceeded everyone's expectations, and I think this is going to be a special class.
Folks, tune to NBA TV for all your draft coverage. We're just over a month away from June 23rd and 24th. ABC, ESPN, the NBA draft. For producer Greg Fonseca, for director Russ Leonard, for For Matt Zerhali, for Adam Finkelstein, for Kristen Peak, for Lauren Green, this is John Fanta saying,